It's time for Twig This Week in Google, and we have a fun show for you. Mike Elgin joins the panel along with Kevin Marks and Jeff Jarvis. We'll talk about the latest Google April Fool's jokes, but just for a little time. Chrome OS, Indie Web Standards, and a whole lot more. It's going to be a fun time. Join us, won't you, on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 294, recorded Wednesday, April 1st, 2015. Chrome, oh yes. This Week in Google is brought to you by FreshBooks, the easy-to-use invoicing software designed to help small business owners save time billing and get paid faster. Join over 5 million users running their business with ease. Try it free at freshbooks.com/twig. And by LegalZoom. If you're looking to incorporate, form an LLC or a nonprofit, get a DBA or more, LegalZoom can help you get started the right way. LegalZoom's not a law firm, but can connect you with an independent attorney. Visit LegalZoom.com and use the offer code TWIG to receive $10 off at checkout. And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 50-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/twig. That's ZipRecruiter.com/twig. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, a show where we cover the latest news from the Googleverse, but also the Cloudverse, Facebook, Twitter, and the like. Mike Elgin sitting next to me, our news director, and a Google Plus Pro. Nice to see you, Mike.
Thank you. I'm not really a pro, but I play one on TV.
You know, increasingly, I think it's a small and shrinking group.
Yes.
So I think you can now say you're the guy on Google Plus. That's Jeff Jarvis laughing. He's also a Google Pro.
I hate April 1st.
Oh, I do too.
Hate it.
This is the one day I don't want to do a show.
Yeah. Make it go away.
Jeff is the professor of journalism at the CUNY, City University of New York School. He's also, J School, he's also a blogger at BuzzMachine and a book author. His latest, Geeks Bearing Gifts, but he also wrote Public Parts and What Would Google Do? Also with us, Kevin Marks, former Googler and Appler and BBCer and BTer and Salesforcer. He's been everywhere.
I am. Now I'm nicely at home in my garden.
He's in the garden.
It's very good.
It's a good place to be. Great to have you once again. So it is April Fool's. Should we just run through quickly? There's com.google, which explains why Google was so hot to get the GTLDs, in particular Google. It's backwards Google. It even works. And somebody tells me...
transform, you can do it in a browser. I mean, that's
it's easy to make things backwards. Hey, we fixed it.
Hey, the TriCaster can do anything. Yeah.
Were you going to make Leo backwards?
I can.
Yeah, make Leo backwards.
There we go.
Yeah, now I fit my backwards Google.
This is normal.
That's disturbing.
That's really weird. There's something wrong. There's something very wrong. Yeah, and when you click a link, it doesn't, like, they have the Google Plus link, but it doesn't make it backwards. They could do that. I don't know why they don't. But somebody told me if you look at the code, there's Yahoo backwards in there somewhere. So a little in-joke. That's one. Then, of course, the big one I thought was really great, the Pac-Man.
Yeah,
you guys talked about that last night, I'm sure.
Yep, and showed it off on the phone as well.
You can play Pac-Man. If you just go to your maps.google.com, you can play Pac-Man in your hometown. I'm playing it in Petaluma. Uh-oh, quickly, before Blinky gets to me, run for the river, Pac-Man. Oh, I just went. I don't know where I am. Oh, yeah. You go off the edge. That's right.
It is kind of brilliant.
Isn't it? And listen to the sound. Turn up the sound.
I've got the sound up. I don't know why. I heard that.
That's not the sound you want. Why aren't I not? Sound is returned to good. Huh. Oh, here it is. That little thing. There we go.
Oh,
now,
let it in.
Now, how do you feel? Do you have to license that sound?
Yeah.
Sure they did. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Google.
It's exactly the sound. Namco licensed it.
Must have.
Well, it's like an AY38910 chip. It's one of the 4 things it can do. So.
Oh, yeah, you know what? That's probably a good point. It probably is built into the chip, isn't it? All right, Blinky. Come here, baby. I'm going to eat you alive. I was really bad at this game.
So can we play this on a map of London? That'd be much harder.
Yeah, just much harder. Sure. Let's go back to Google Maps. I think you can go anywhere.
I believe so.
Yeah, you know what would be really hard is one of these like suburban mazes where where there's no actual.
Yeah, there's no out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Dead end.
Yeah,
You're done.
it works anywhere. So play Pac-Man. I think this is nicely done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably not that. In fact, they probably reused the code because didn't they have a Google Doodle that was a Pac-Man? I believe they did. Look, there's dead ends. Oh man, this is hard. Whoa.
Google even brought Pac-Man into the Ingress experience.
They did?
Well. Yeah.
So if you're playing Ingress, you have Pac-Man?
Yeah.
See, this is nice. The point about this is it's not a stupid make fun of people thing. It's
I know.
Exactly.
disrupt people's expectation with something playable. That's the April Fool's joke tradition that's actually good. It's one of the things that Google's April Fool's jokes are a mixture of 50% cool shit like this and 50%
Painful.
we just wrote something not very funny at all.
I like what Amazon's doing on their front page. This is their old 1999 page. But then Amazon did something yesterday that I was sure was an April Fool's joke.
Exactly.
And it turned out not to be. What is it called?
It's called they're called
Dash.
dash buttons.
Dash button. So if you go to Amazon.com/dash button, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you get a free button that you press and it orders stuff for you.
This is the most ridiculous thing.
And it comes with, I guess, overlays for the products you can buy. So you stick it to your clothes washer, and you push it for Tide or Bounty, paper towels or Huggies. What do you put that in your baby's butt? And your Gillette Fusion. But now, can you only get one?
The toddlers. The problem here is toddlers. Toddlers press buttons.
Right.
Oh crap!
So your toddler is going to walk around and press this button, make a nice little noise, and then a week later you're going to have.
No, it goes to your
20
phone
feet.
first. You don't. It's not. It doesn't. Just like the Amazon, you have the Amazon Echo. Same thing
Yeah.
where you talk. Oh, actually, you don't have it. You
I
give it
don't
back.
anymore, but yeah.
You talk to the Amazon Echo, and when
Yeah.
you say buy diapers, it doesn't automatically buy them. You have to.
In this case, I think you can
goes to
set
the
it up
app.
to do, well, I think that it can. What happens
Can
is
it?
Yeah, I think that can be a direct. What happens is that if you order it and then order it again, it will send something to your phone and say, "Are you sure about this?" And the other thing is that this is for Prime members only, and it's kind of an invitation-only thing. If they notice you're buying Huggies all the time,
Right.
and you're a Prime member, they'll contact you and say, "Hey, do you want this?" And they send you one.
So great. But I totally thought it was an April Fool's joke, and it isn't.
Imagine right now they have 18, but they're probably going to have hundreds. And of course, the companies, the brands behind this are going to really want this.
So when you order it for a particular brand.
Yes, you get. Yeah, it's not an overlay. They send you. There's a Glad button, and they send it to you. And
I'm not putting the Lara Bar button in our snack cupboard because
No.
that would get us.
the only place where I think this would be great is in the bathroom next to the toilet paper,
Yeah.
because you're sitting there.
It's not going to come in time.
Well, with drone delivery, it might.
They have 1 hour delivery now, Jeff.
With drone delivery, you just have to sit there for an
Yeah, you got a
hour.
few things to read. That's okay. Yeah.
And you have to go and answer the door, right?
Oh, I see. So it sends an order alert to your phone, but it does make the order.
Yeah.
Unless you elect otherwise, it responds only to your first press until the order is delivered.
I wish
Isn't
they
it
did that
amazing?
for books, because I have this problem where I see a new book is coming out and I pre-order it, and then 3 months later I see the same thing again, I pre-order it, and then when the book actually comes out, I get two
You
or
get a
three.
stack of them.
Yeah.
And
That's
it doesn't do
a
that for
bad
Kindle,
thing.
but if I actually order physical books,
It
I
should
end
know
up with
better.
multiple copies.
Yeah.
And
I do
it's-
have
it's
several
like-
copies of a few books. You're exactly right. So
If they've actually done debouncing of orders over time, they should do that for books. as
debounce
well.
everything. Boy,
Like,
that's
you already bought that. Do you want me to tell you where it is
Right.
in your house?
so. These are the brands. Kraft macaroni and cheese. It's crap.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean,
Of course, this is like mass market brand stuff.
Yeah, it's big mass market brand stuff.
But of course, they're things that you order frequently, all of them.
Right.
And so it's mostly consumables like paper towels and
Razor
diapers
blades,
and stuff
toilet
like that.
paper.
I think I'm not sure if there's any food beyond the Kraft mac and cheese.
Actually, you know what? I
There's some
want this
Gatorade,
for.
I guess.
And there's Lara
I want this for salt for the water softener. I want to press a button. And
Yeah, I do too. That
bag
would
of
be
salt will
useful.
Turn up. That
Yeah.
would actually be handy.
Yeah, there's not enough
Because
profit
that's
in
a
that.
pain to go and get.
Yeah. So this is funny because they have a patent on the one-click. I wonder if this counts, if this is protected under the one-click patent.
Is it? Is that still extant? Well, that was. Seems like it was 20 years ago.
It feels like it. Anyway, this is not an April Fool's joke, and I immediately requested it, but I haven't gotten the email yet. So maybe I don't. I buy a lot on Subscribe and Save.
Yeah.
So
Ben Word started writing an April Fool's joke about this for an IndieWeb version of this, and then realised halfway through it was a good idea, I think.
It's not a joke. There is a long Mashable post with all the April Fool's jokes, but I think people have finally gotten the message that there's some cruelty involved in really pranking people, and we haven't had to fight a lot of.
Yeah. There's the Project McFly hovering mouse.
Yeah. ThinkGeek usually does some good April Fool's stuff. Do they have anything?
Wasn't unicorn meat was a good one.
Ooh, I like this.
This is giving me hope for the world that we actually are having.
Yeah,
to
we're
search
learning.
for it.
The steam-powered gaming cabinet. Oh, I'd buy that. It's integrated steam engine, power generated by burning coal or any other solid fuel.
You see a little,
and it works with SteamOS, of
see a little
course.
flame in the window. It's hilarious.
Only $399.99 by Watt and Newell. Now you're playing with Steam. ThinkGeek always has some fun with these.
Yeah, they got a bunch of them.
Yeah, yeah. That's where the Tauntaun sleeping bag came from. Originally, it was a joke, and then people said, "No, we really want it," so they actually made it. It looks like a unicorn horn, but actually, I think this is real.
My favorite one is they have this gigantic selfie stick that puts GoPro cameras in 360 degrees around your head.
That may or may not be a joke. Did you see the selfie shoe? This was actually good. This was from I think a shoe
It's
or
a shoe company. My wife buys shoes.
Ms. Moose. Here's the selfie shoe.
Now more important than ever, selfie sticks have helped get a better shot, but at the inconvenience of carrying it. At Ms. Moose,
So
we understand
Yes.
the importance of looking great without giving up comfort.
The selfie stick is a great solution to a problem, but in turn, it has created a new problem. This was the opportunity for Ms. Moose to create an even greater solution.
Introducing the selfie shoes. No matter where you go, you'll always be camera ready. Just insert your phone into the fork, raise it to the perfect angle, and click the internal button with the tap of your toe.
You have to be able to kick like a rocket to do it.
Yeah.
To get the best range of angles, we have also added a docking port on each shoe, so you can get a photo from either your right or your left. The great thing about the selfie shoes
The funny thing is, it looks like a big clown shoe when the phone is in
so
it.
now both hands are free to be in the photo.
Finally.
We're all super pumped about the selfie shoes. With wearable devices on the horizon, the possibilities are endless.
I like his cardboard moose head.
As well as making
Yeah.
the selfie shoes
That
water
I'd buy.
resistant. So really,
I love the selfie shoe. Love
Sign
that.
up to be one of the first to get a pair at msmoose.com/selfie shoes.
All right, there's your plug, Ms. Moose. Why is my bell ringing? I hate OS 10. Yes, weather. You can use my current location. I know it's time for the show. I've got Do Not Disturb turned on, but it's disturbing me. All right, are we done with April Fools? Can we move on?
Please.
Yes. All right, we'll probably find some more before the show's. Is that me?
Yeah, that's you.
What the hell is making that noise? Maybe it's it's the chat room. Every time they say my name. Every time they say my name,
Ring
and
my
they
bell.
figued that
Go ahead,
out
chat
too.
room. Make it go. Go ahead.
Now
chat
everybody's
room.
going to do it.
No, I just closed it. They figured it out. You know what? I rebuilt this machine, and so some of the things that I had turned off. Yeah, see, look at the chat room.
Leo.
Ding, 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 ding. Ah! Google says this shocks me. 5% of its site have ad injectors. So the reason that this is of interest is, of course, we talked about Lenovo putting the Komodo or Komodia certificates in with TrueFish. And that's an ad injector. The idea being that as you surf around with TrueFish installed, Lenovo since stopped doing this, it would inject new ads onto pages you're visiting, ads that aren't there. According to a study Google conducted with UC Berkeley, 5%, 1 in 20, have at least one ad injector.
That's malware that somebody got on their machine, right?
No, that's the funny thing. No? I call it malware. You call it malware. It's not really malware exactly. Lenovo said this is as a convenience to our customers.
So there are 192 of these, and they're killing them. They're basically pulling the plug on them.
Thank you, Google.
Yeah. So this is going to.
You'll now have a warning.
Back way back in the day when I worked with Condé Nast, worked for them. I think we were part of a big suit over this because there were browsers that would pull up ads on others' sites, and it was seen as a copyright violation.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, this is the framing issue. If you remember site framing, that was that's one of these things that that people do over and over again. So there was originally people would frame other sites, but ads at the top,
right?
And then there were other things. The dig bar. Do you remember the dig bar?
Yeah.
When Dig went and did that, and this week's one is Nuzzle, which does that on their Android client, which is really annoying. So they say, look, all your friends are reading this page, and click on the page, and it's not in your browser, it's in their app, and you can't actually get at the page underneath it. And if you try and share it, it shares their link.
And a lot of people get bit by this. If you download software from many of the download sites, I don't know if download.com does an ad injector, but they do a lot of other stuff. Wouldn't be surprised if they did an ad injector. A lot of sites, and the reason we can't call it, or I can call it malware, but the reason it's not called malware is because usually there is a checkbox hidden somewhere that you checked and said, yeah, I want that. This is on the way to doing what you actually want. And they have an uninstall entry in the programs and features control panel on Windows. So if you do that, then it's hard. Then antivirus vendors and others are hard pressed to call it malware. I don't think does Google even call it malware? No, they just say harmful programs.
Harmware, fine.
Harmware. It's malware. Of course it's malware. Yeah.
And this study is going to come out in detail on May 1st, so we might want to revisit this.
Yeah.
Because there might be some interesting
there's
details
be a lot more
to discovered. Yeah.
It's, and it bites basically normal users who aren't really kind of vigilant about what
even on the Chromebook, I got stuck with some kind of extension that some extension that I had installed that did this kind of crap. And finally,
that shouldn't happen because a Chromebook it has to be signed, right? Isn't that right, Kevin? In order to install something on Chrome OS, it has to be signed.
Right, but there are legitimate modify the thing I'm reading plugins as well.
And those are signed.
You can't tell ab initio whether rewriting the page that you're on is a good thing or a bad thing. The Pinterest plugin will rewrite the page to give you a pin this button, for example. So the challenge is working out which ones are ones you actually want, which ones you forgot about. I mean, there's a useful tip actually is to go and check which Chrome extensions you have installed, because the problem is they do load in every tab, which means you are potentially loading a lot of extra stuff. So
that's interesting. They load in every tab.
So one of the reasons that Chrome may slow down is that you've got some extension plugged in that wasn't written very well and is like, as well as every page you're loading is loading that extension too.
So go to the hamburger on the right of your toolbar in Chrome and go to More Tools and select Extensions. You'll see a list. You can disable them or trash them. And then there's often, by the way, more information and sometimes even options there that you might not have seen. I have quite a few of them. And this is what happens when you use a Chromebook, right, Jeff, is that you start putting extensions in.
You started tweeting these things, yeah.
These are your apps.
Yeah, and I go through occasionally and just turn off a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not sure, but I think it will sync installed extensions across.
It does.
Running Chromes.
Right.
So
it does. So it does that too.
So if you install one on your Mac, it'll put it on the Chromebook and vice versa, which may not be what you thought was going to happen.
Yeah, so I had a case this week where I'm going to New Delhi for 24 hours. How's that for insanity?
That is insane.
I had to apply for a visa, which thank goodness you can now do online. It used to be you had to go through the whole Megillah. So they wanted my passport page at only 300 in size, and it come out as a meg every time, and so I didn't know how to do it. So how did I make a PDF? I had to make a PDF and make it smaller. So I'm going through trying to find extensions. I end up installing 5 things for PDFs that I didn't forget about, of course, and they're there, and then I'll go through eventually. And I don't have that many. I'll kill them off, but that's how you do get a little.
Did you
crowd.
find a solution to that?
I made it a GIF and then reduced the.
He canceled his trip. It was the easiest way.
I'm not going to.
I was about to.
It's little things like that that bite you with the Chromebook that you just get used to doing on a normal computer, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't have that. Although, and I'll show you later in my tool, they're the few things that I said, I can't. I have to have a real computer for. Are the numbers dwindling rapidly?
Including I got Skype now.
Yeah, I'm really liking the Pixel. The new Pixel is fast.
Yeah.
The problem is you can't, and we'll talk about the other Chrome announcements this week too. And so I obviously love it, but it's not like you could have a show on This Week in Chrome because what do you say? It's
right.
Like, yep, there it is.
No, this is the show. This is it.
This is
that and All About Android. Between the two of them, I think we're covering it. But good tip, Kevin, to go through your extensions and remove stuff that you're not using because.
Yeah,
each of them takes up memory and resources.
Yeah, what's kind of says? I'm not sure that Chrome. Chrome has that. There's like who's using my RAM view, but I'm not sure it breaks out extensions. That would be nice if it did, wouldn't it?
Well, that's a good question. There is a task manager in the Chromebook, which surprised me in Chrome OS. You can see who's using CPUs.
Yeah.
You can even do a top command in the shell, which is kind of nice.
But yeah, it's in any Chrome. There's a task manager. What's it?
Right. Ingress is coming.
Leo, I got to give you points. You do exhibit intellectual honesty.
You're going to make me eat crow again.
No, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying the opposite.
Well, it's kind of backhandedly.
It's going to make you eat crow.
I'm saying this with respect and love.
Yes, because I was very dismissive of Chrome OS.
I just take my hat off to you. No, I'm serious. Many others would still just hang on and say, but.
Well, a lot of people do, and Microsoft made a lot of hay with their Pawn Stars ads. Yeah, but you can't use it offline, and of course you can use it offline. You can do more and more. They've not only do they have extensions, but they also have apps now, which are kind of really just browsers in a separate window. But it really feels like an operating system more and more. And then there's very little, I can't do. And
the task manager does include plugins. That's useful. So we can see which ones are chewing up RAM.
Oh, good.
Should we talk about the new Chrome stuff this week?
Sure.
Apparently one called GPO Process is eating 500 megs.
How do you see the task manager in Chrome?
Click on the
more
menu,
tools. Task manager. There it is. Yeah. See, Chrome. What's funny is you really have Chrome OS on your system, even if you're on a Mac, because Chrome is Chrome OS pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Background page, Google Drive, Secure Shell. These are all running.
Right. So you can see who's got RAM. So yeah, my Google Drive page in the background is chewing up stuff.
Ooh, stats for nerds. Did you click on that?
You have stats for nerds?
Oh, that gives you page in, page out.
On the OS.
Oh, Lord above. About memory measuring. Oh, this is memory use. Page in, page out. What is that? Okay, explain. Okay, finally, we got somebody here who can explain what the hell that means. Because all task managers will show this.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So the point is that with Unix-like OSs like Mac OS and Chrome OS, you are allocating memory, but not all of the memory is actually in memory. Some of it is elsewhere. So you're saying, I want this much memory, and the operating system is deciding how much is actually on RAM and how much is paged out to disk. So paged in means actually using it in the memory of your machine, and paged out means it's on the disk and we'll bring it back as needed. And you often the tricky bit is that because of the way page mapping works, is there's each process will have a bunch of shared pages, which are operating system pages and things, so that they will all be mapped into the same process memory space, but they will actually all map to the same piece of the operating system. So the page in, page outs, it can look like you're using more memory than in your physical machine in the paged in ones.
They even say that in a footnote on the memory redirect page. Due to memory sharing between processes, summing memory usage does not give total memory use. This is interesting.
Well, and they also link to their own bug in it, which is wonderful.
I know. They say this page will show memory for all running browsers, not just Chrome. That's interesting. Bug, we seriously overcount our own memory usage. They have to say that, though, because, if you look at it and it says you're using 49, what are you using? 49 megabytes? Actually, that's not so bad. But, or is that gigabytes?
So the virtual list... So the virtual list is they've all got, every piece has got 3 gigs in it because they've all got the same stuff paged in.
Right.
So, but what I was, you don't. The point about this is you only really want this if you're debugging your own pages and plugins.
Yeah.
But the other one is useful to say what are these things that are lurking around here on my machine? Let's go and clean them up.
Yeah.
And I realize I haven't done this for a while, so I should go and...
It's always interesting. Google is putting Chrome in more places, Chrome OS. The Chromebit dongle will be coming soon from Google. I also thought this was an April Fool's joke at first.
Yeah, I did too at first, but this is cool.
I love this. Cool. So Intel at CES announced a PC on a stick that would do much the same thing. Android's been available on a stick for some time. In fact, Google TV and Roku and there's a lot of Fire TV. They're all look like USB keys, but they really don't have a USB connector. They have an HDMI connector, and you can plug them into your TV, and then a computer runs. So this is Chrome OS. ASUS, I guess, is going to make it for about $100.
Well, the NextWeb story says that, but the price has not been announced.
It's not been
announced.
What
they did say is that it's going to be under $100. And that seems to me to be anywhere near $100 sounds really high to me.
I think it should be 70, 50.
It should be 30.
Well, the Chromecast is 35.
Well, yes, but a Chromebook now, you can get a Chromebook for $149.
They have now two Chromebooks for $150.
A thumb drive should be more than $50 cheaper than an entire laptop.
Right. So what's the use case for this? Because it is on your TV.
Go to a hotel.
Go to a hotel.
But you have to bring a Bluetooth keyboard.
Well, but here's my. I've got an idea for you, Google. I'm telling you, this is a good idea. Your Android phone should be able to operate as a Bluetooth keyboard.
Oh.
Because you're not going to be using heavy duty stuff on this. But this is where. Oh, let me pull up that page. Let me show you the presentation. Let me do this. Let me do that. Right. Then you don't need to plug it. You have to plug in power.
Right.
USB power, and then you just use your phone as mouse and keyboard.
Well, at that point, you might as well just use the Chromecast.
Yeah.
No, but well, no, the Chromecast has the problem of the Wi-Fi stuff. Yep.
So the Chromebit is due this summer.
The idea for this is really it's for at mass, at volume, and this thing does get cheaper. Does get like 30 Raspberry Pi-ish. Then and the idea is this is for poorer schools and such who have TVs, don't have computers, and they can now have.
Yeah, and anybody who's got an old HDMI monitor lying around suddenly has a Chrome box.
Yeah,
in effect.
Exactly.
Except that you've got to buy a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, which
that's why I'm saying. That's exactly why I'm saying. Then use your phone.
Chromebook. Yeah.
What would the challenges be to do that?
What this is for me is this is the Chrome box shrunken. So the Chrome box is exactly this device.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we got one at I/O a couple of years ago. My son used it as his desktop computer for over a year. With precisely this setup, it's like, we have.
Well, you're a cheap dad.
Yeah, man.
Jeez.
No, because he had his main computer was the Chromebook, and he was taking the Pixel to school. But his desktop computer then became a Chromebook.
I think
it was great for him.
Yeah, I think the use case here for a lot of people is the fact that if you're using a Chromebook, if that's your computing system or whatever, then you can pretty much use any. You can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
And so this is something you can carry in your pocket, assuming you can figure out the keyboard part of it. And, you basically have a Chromebox at home, and then you go, when you're wandering around, you just plug it in any TV or monitor.
I love carrying this in my pocket.
Yeah.
So this is a April Fool's joke, obviously, the self-browsing Chromebook. Rethink how you browse the web with a self-browsing Chromebook. With one click, you're off surfing the web. No input needed. So you don't need the keyboard and the mouse. You just lean back, and we'll take you there quickly, simply, and securely.
We know what you want. It's the ultimate Google.
Right.
Fortunately, it's not compatible with my system, but but it says it runs on Chrome OS, so maybe you ought to download it right now and see how it works, Jeff. I'm unfortunately using a Mac.
Why?
Because, well, it's really a simple thing. First of all, I don't want to waste my Chromebook here. But also, the issue is there's a weird. We tried this with the first Chromebook. I should try it with a new one, but I can't do this. What we're doing right now, which is get it to the screen.
Video out.
Yeah.
But I'm going to regret this. Okay, it's installed.
Introducing Chrome Selfie. If you
here we go. Here I'm hold the camera up.
Oh my God, what's going on? Oh, it is. It's actually doing it. It's like Stumble Upon. Oh, Solve for X. Okay, so it brought you to Solve for X. That's the great Google site, kind of their TED Talks. And now it's bringing you to a plus page. Now research at Google. It is literally self-driving.
And you know what's going to happen?
All Google stuff.
The Germans are going to use this to prove that Google is just promoting its own products.
Yeah, right, because it is all Google sites so far. It's Stumble Upon for Google. And it's fast, by the way. You barely have time to read anything. Wait a minute. That's not Google. Is it all?
Maybe blogger sites too?
Oh, maybe it's blogger sites. Holy cow. Now it's a Google Maps of some place. Looks like in the middle of nowhere.
Looked like it was Burning Man.
Wow. It even showed Google in Spanish, right? Google Spain and
Fisto.
Wait, that's Wikipedia. So it is more than Google sites.
Yeah.
So it's just
all over Wiki. Fantastic Four.
Oh, you're getting stuck. I see what happened. So it's just following a random link on a page.
Was it random?
That's probably what it's doing.
Right. It's finding a link on the page
and then clicking
going to the
it.
next
So
page.
you're lucky you didn't get stuck in Wikipedia. Oh, you're back. So now you're going to be in Wikipedia for a while because a lot of Wikipedia links go back to Wikipedia. Huh. All right, I'll put that on my my Pixel. It has to do something overnight.
Well, that's not a bad screensaver. Just leave it on your TV.
Yeah, it is. Right. Maybe that's what this is for. All right. It's funny because I clicked the link on Fast Company. I'm sorry, on the Next Web, and it brought me that instead. This is where we wanted to go. More Chromebooks. This is the cheap Chromebooks. This is ASUS Chromebook, the Flip.
This one, it's going to be ridiculous. I'm going to end up with 5 Chromebooks.
I know. This is only $250.
This one I'm very
flips
tempted.
all the way around, so it turns kind of into a tablet. 15 millimeters thick.
It's going to be running Amazon things. I mean, what am I saying? Android things.
Android. Oh, it is. It's Android and
within 6 weeks or so, everything, all the Chrome.
We'll run Android apps.
Yes.
That's going to be a very nice
one of the
thing.
first, yeah.
That's going to be a very nice thing.
To me, this higher Chromebook 11 and the Hisense Chromebook costs $149. That's an astonishingly low price.
Yeah, at Walmart and Amazon.
11.6-inch screens.
Hisense is the Chinese company that wants to get into the TV business. They took over Microsoft's booth at CES. Hire's been around for a long time selling very inexpensive
refrigerators and things.
Yeah, drugstore appliances, basically. Wow, $150.
Ironic that the cheapest.
And it's like 8 hours battery.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's got the slowest processor in the world, probably.
Yeah.
8.5 hours. I tell you, increasingly I've been recommending these to people who say, I ask them, what do you want to do? Almost everybody says the same thing. I want to surf the web and do email. And it's just crazy to buy something so complex and expensive as a Windows PC or a Mac when a Chromebook will do it all and do it securely.
The one thing I still want is Dell. I've said this on the show before. I want a message to you, Michael Dell. I want you to do a fully customizable Chromebook. There's not that many choices.
Right.
But how much memory, LTE, blah, blah, blah.
You want what we've all been saying, the mid-range Chromebook, the
mid-range. Yeah, let me custom make it and add my own stuff to it. And it's my own fault that it costs $600. I'll be happy.
So, Mike, tell us about this story. This is from Business Insider, that Android is going to be on Chrome OS.
Yeah, they talked about this at Google I/O last year, and basically what's going to happen is that they're increasingly, it's all under Sundar Pichai now. He used to be just Chrome OS. Now Android is under him, and there's increasing integration. Not only the ability to run actual Android apps on Chrome, and there's going to be a handful of apps on these devices, and then within a few month and a half, 2 months, it's going to be able to run on all Chrome OSs, everything that is capable of doing so. And it's going to be, it's going to be an app by app thing. But eventually, I think that all Android apps are going to run easily on Chromebooks. and on Chrome. And and in addition to that, Chrome OS is actually starting to evolve from an interface perspective to be more like Android, the typefaces, little things like that. So there seems to be a desire to unify these, and it'll get to the point very quickly where you'll wonder why you have both. I mean, if you look at this flip thing that turns into a tablet, so now you have this Chrome tablet, right? So why would you have a Chrome tablet instead of an Android tablet?
I'm already taking calls on my Chromebook because I use Hangouts and I give out a Google Voice number. So when my phone rings, it rings my everything.
And you're like,
and I can answer that call on an iPad, as a matter of fact, or anything, whatever I happen to have nearby. Sure, the house wakes up like crazy because everything's ringing,
right?
And everything has its own ringtone.
Yeah,
it's a little crazy.
But the other thing that's
but just to make a point about that though, Apple's doing the same thing with continuity and handoff, but you have to have an iPhone and a Mac.
Yeah,
and so it's really kind of it's a closed ecosystem, whereas Google has made voice work on everything.
Yeah.
So I literally can take a Google Voice call on an Apple device, on an Android device. Don't think I can do it on a Windows Phone device yet or ever. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
To have the openness is really nice.
It is. Yeah.
Not that Google's open everywhere. Android Wear doesn't obviously work with an iPhone.
How much effort does it take to port an app to Android for Chrome?
That I don't know.
Right now, the way you do it is you don't recompile the app. You run it through a little doohickey, and then the APK will just work on a Chromebook, isn't it? Oh, wait a minute. You have to have a stub of something. And I can't remember. I haven't. What did you do to get Skype working?
I installed.
So you have an extension that's running, that is an Android emulator, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Whose name I'm suddenly forgetting.
There's no reason why Google couldn't make an emulator be part of it.
Yeah, sure. Surely they're going to make it easier than that. Yeah. Because I don't really run.
Well, and they already did this with Evernote, right? The reason Evernote has an app as well as an extension as well as a website is because Google's already done this privately with Evernote.
Yeah.
So the Evernote app is actually the Android app.
Yeah.
I just like how it's coming along here.
Yeah.
I do too.
It's talk about the OLPC, the $100 one laptop per child. We're really $150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Quality machine.
And they're decent. Quality,
real
maybe
keyboard.
Not right.
Well, no, these are a little bit better. I mean, compared to an OLPC machine, yeah.
But the beauty of it is that the kids can go home, leave the machine at school. They can go home and log into their accounts, and whatever it is they were working on at school
is really
is there.
awesome. Yeah.
And this is the big problem with with Apple trying to sell iPads to schools. You can't do that, so you have to send them home with an iPad. Now the kid's at target for theft because, of course, somebody's going to mug these kids for this expensive piece of consumer electronics, and so that doesn't work. And it's just a fantastic thing. Now, to me, one of the most exciting developments in the Chrome OS world is the fact that the new Chrome Launcher 2.0 is going to be Google Now centric. So in the future,
you see cards, in
the near future, you're going to turn on your Chrome, you open your Pixel, and it's going to be Google Now. That's what you want to see.
But we already see that, right, Jeff? Because there is a notification on the system bar on the right that is a number that's the number of Now cards that are available.
Yeah, which I go back to my usual apps problem. Because my main account is apps,
You're not getting
I get hardly anything. Anything.
So is this the tool you used, Arc Welder, Jeff?
No, I'm trying to find it right now.
I've got to
go.
You run. So you need the Arc, which is the Android runtime for Chrome. And then you run the APK. You have to get the APK of Skype or whatever, and you run it through Arc Welder, and that somehow processes it and makes it possible. So here's another extension to install.
And what I have to do is I have to go to my extensions and get it there. If you go to last week's rundown, it has what I used.
Okay.
All right. I have my thank you at the bottom. I can't remember. Let me see, where was it?
Oh, yeah, because you talk about, that's right.
Hold on here.
This is a pretty big extension. It's 103 megabytes so far.
Hold on. Here we go.
How long before, it's getting wild and open, right?
Twerk.
Now it's more like an operating system. How soon before it becomes a problem? Or did they design Chrome OS so well that it never will be a problem? What do you think, Kevin? Is he there?
Sorry, I missed some context because I
yeah, we're just talking about running Android apps on Chrome. That's imminent.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, as Chrome, one of the reasons Chrome OS worked so well is because it was so restricted. But we've got now a big store growing fast, and
well, to some extent. I mean, the point is, it's the design is clear. It's designed to run a web browser and web apps really well. So if you're going to start running Android apps for a different kind of thing, you may need to optimize it for that.
Right.
So that's there is a difference in thinking about which one you're going to run, but as Moore's law keeps doing its thing, so you'll probably be able to run running an emulator on your Mac has worked for running Android apps for a while, but it doesn't work that great because it's got a lot of wrapper on top of it. The question is, how much of that wrapper can you get away, and how much can you make it go direct to GPU? And given that they control the OS, they've probably got ways to do the shortcuts for that. And maybe is that what that Arc Welder thing is too? I haven't seen that before.
Well, the thing that worries me about Arc Welder is you have to kind of sideload an APK somewhere. So
the thing I use is Twerk, but I think it's basically the same.
Twerk, yeah. Arc Welder's new.
Yeah, so I have to go to launch Skype. This is not ready for mortals. I have to go to the extensions, find it, open the package that was created, and then Skype launches. And I still want to do a test with you, Jason, just to see how it works. Yeah. I don't know. As Kevin's point, I don't know if the fact that it's going through that wrapper, is that affecting the performance?
Right.
It's funny because
you can simplify that.
The chat room was saying twerk, Leo, twerk, but I thought they actually wanted me to twerk. But no, they were telling me the name of the app.
No one wants you to twerk.
I was hopeful.
Okay, no offense.
I was hopeful.
No one wants you to.
It's aspirational. Someday.
The other thing here is that what you kind of would want is a bit like the emulator experience, where you want the Android app running in a small window, not taking over the whole screen.
Yeah.
Well, so you'd have yes, but in some cases, I think just the opportunity that I've already written an app for Android and now it can just run on Chrome, however it ought to run on a browser, that's free, right? That's app responsive,
right?
Right, but the challenge is, Android will have a go at laying it out, but there aren't any Android tablets that have that many pixels. Well, maybe there's a few, but not many in the market.
Oh, I see.
So most of the apps wouldn't have been tuned for that. And also, if they have, the biggest sort of design challenge these days is the difference between portrait and landscape things. And this is a battle that's ongoing. And we've had this, we've had this for a while in that. The Macs keep getting narrower and narrower that way, so you end up with this very widescreen thing, and the phones the other way around. And so the design challenge is: am I putting a tall thing or a wide thing? And the irony recently has been happening with video, where Periscope wants you to use portrait mode video, and everyone in video is like, "No, you're losing a third of the screen." Except that if you're watching on a portrait mode screen, you're losing a third of the screen when you watch landscape. So it's an ongoing problem we have, which is which way around is this thing? Does it make sense to be wide or tall?
So I apologize. Arc Welder is for testing. You still would use Twerk to convert it. So Arc Welder is more for developers to see if their app will work as compiled. And we should mention that you can, if you want to try the Google Now cards on Chrome OS, all you have to be is in the beta channel. So if you go to About Chrome in your Chrome on your Chromebook and select the beta channel, you should get this new launcher, which I haven't. I hadn't played with the Now features. So if you see this launcher, you got it.
Restart to update. So I'm going to update my Chromebook right now. It'll be done. It'll be done in a few seconds.
Yeah, I know, that's nice too. Boy, that Pixel boots in about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything boot faster. Did you get the new Pixel?
No, the old one was fast, and this one's faster.
This one is instant.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I don't know. You're right. Now, Jeff, I've gone too far on the other side.
That was my entire idea. You've been
succeeded.
hypnotized.
You've hypnotized me. Microsoft is finally adding reverse scrolling to Windows 10. We were talking about this on Windows Weekly.
Yeah.
You know, on the Chromebook, it's funny because it's in a setting, they call it Australian scrolling.
Yeah.
But I want everything to scroll like my Mac does because I use the Mac and so finally Windows 10 will do it. Chrome OS does it. But Google is going to improve scrolling on Chrome using a Microsoft invention, according to this story. Tom Warren writing for The Verge. It's going to support pointer events, a standard that was introduced in Internet Explorer. Touch events is available right now in Safari. Microsoft, Mozilla, and Opera have adopted pointer events. And while they were using touch events, they are now going to pointer events. Don't know what any of this means at all. Touch handlers will be replaced with pointer event handlers.
This is one of those like long-running web standardization problems, which is that so touch events were pushed by Apple for Safari and then adopted by others, but it's very much focused on I'm operating this thing with my finger, whereas Microsoft, because they were building the tablets that had both touch screens and mice, wanted this more nuanced thing that were pointer events. And clearly that's a better fit with Chrome because Chrome has both modes as well. Whereas Apple doesn't have touch screens on their laptops yet, so they don't see this as important. So it's one of those like, why would I care about that type things from Apple? So it just makes like building websites a little bit more annoying at the moment.
What is the functionality difference? I mean, from the point of view of the end user, even on a touch device, the
big difference is that on touch, one of the things that people get frustrated with is that if you've got a touch device, you don't have, you have like a long press gesture, which means that when you click the screen, it has to decide whether you're making a press or a long press. So there was a lot of 300 millisecond delays when you click things because it was waiting to see what kind of press you were making.
What is that?
And so that was slowing down that was slowing down the websites. Whereas the pointer event, because you've got alternative gestures, because you can right click or because you can control click or whatever, you can short circuit that thing. So, and the bit that's slightly weird is that the gestures stuff doesn't integrate with that one. We've had this problem forever, which is that if you
if I use pointer events, then how do I do a long press? Can I do it?
Yeah, well, you can. It maps. I think it maps a right click to a long press, or it maps a long press to a right click, or something. So the problem is that there's a set of gestures that you use that are different between these devices, and it's trying to unify them in a way that makes sense to the app on the other side of it, so that you get the right ones by default, but you can reinterpret them if you want to. And the classic one of these is the mouse wheel event, which you scroll the mouse wheel with your finger, and that gets mapped to different things. And the problem is Google Maps maps it to zoom, which makes sense if it is an actual mouse wheel, but it means if you try and two-finger scroll the map, it zooms in instead, which has been a bug for something like 5 years and still drives me mad every time I try and pan Google Map the way I would pan anything else on the Mac. So there's this sort of is a mismatch of affordances between like which of these gestures are you trying to do and how does that map to what the app at the other side.
But there's no perfect solution. You sacrifice in either direction, right?
Well, the point is you've got to try and come up with a set that makes sense. So that's what the standardization discussions going on are. So pointer events was an attempt to come up with a more inclusive thing that included both, but Apple wasn't interested in it because they were thinking those two separate things. And the question is whether they'll adopt that too, or is everyone who's writing code for this going to have to adapt to having one set of events from the Mac and iOS things and another set from the others.
This is the kind of thing that the engineers and standard setters fight for decades over.
Yeah, and then the lawyers.
The challenge with this web standardization stuff is we've. Well, you want the long version, the short version. The long version of this is standardization is basically a process of documentation. People implement things, and then we try and document how they behave so other people can make them do the same things. So if you think about standardization like that, then it makes sense for it to have a lag. The problem is that once you've done that for a little bit, then people go to the spec place and look at the spec to implement it. And so in their head, the standards body is not a documentation body, it's a legislation body. It's telling you what you should do. And once people have that mindset, then they go to the standards bodies with the mindset of legislators lobbying for their organization or for their obsession or whatever. And the standards bodies get full of these people whose entire focus in life is one particular little thing, or the focus is, no, I'm not going to accept that. I'm going to do everything to filibuster that out of the standard because we don't think it's interesting. And that's when the standards bodies turn into, depressing political places. And that's normally what happens then is a new standard body is forked off and we start again with the documentation process.
And we don't invite those other guys.
Which, effectively, this is what happens. Because the people who are trying to get agreement are frustrated by the people who are trying to
make their
move
point
the group in their direction.
Yeah.
And this goes back and forth a lot. So, the classic web version of this was the WhatWG, which was the W3C had become this very legislative mindset place, and it has a bit of that anyway because it's a membership body and so on. So there's sort of the classic standards bodies like ISO are these legislative processes where you're trying to pass a law that will say how everything works in that way. W3C had got captured a bit by that mentality, and so they were focusing on standards that they thought everyone should implement, whereas the browser people were like, no, we're trying to do these things, what's going on? So what WG was effectively a coalition of the people, both the people building websites and the people building browsers, to say, how can we make this less annoying for our use cases, because W3C doesn't care about our issues at the moment. And in a that was the iteration that became HTML5, and the W3C realized that they'd gone off beam and said, okay, right, we'll take that back into our process and absorb that. But there's still this sort of two-headed process going on where what WG is doing HTML, the open standard, the living standard, and W3C is now working on HTML5 plus or HTML6, whatever they're calling it this week, and trying to hit sort of unitary version. So partly comes from a different process, but it also comes to this different sort of mental model. And a lot of things I've seen with the standards work that I've done over the years has been the progress is often made by these ad hoc groups that say, okay, we're all trying to do the same thing, can we get this done? And then document it, iterate, have that, and then try and take it to the standards body for ratification, if you like. So you would say, okay, we're at the point now where we think this makes sense, let's take this to the IETF or the W3C. And the problem is it can then get bogged down in process again. Another example of that would be OAuth. OAuth was an ad hoc group of people, saying we need a way for one website to authenticate to another website. We came up with something, and there were some problems and coalitions, but it was mostly done by, small groups in Silicon Valley, which can be a problem too. And then it went to the IETF for OAuth 2, and is now this standard that is so complicated that it's very hard to make it interoperate because everyone wanted to add their own little use case to the spec. So you hit this problem quite a lot. So pointer events and touch events is an example of one of these things. It's like touch events was Apple needed a new way for you to be able to respond to the things that you could do on iOS that you couldn't do with a desktop browser. So that was touch events. And pointer events was an iteration that was trying to work with a concept that I have both a touch screen and a keyboard and a mouse, and that they're different. And they started in those different camps. One started in the Windows camp because with their tablets, and the touch events started in the Apple camp. And what's going on now is people trying to make them fit together and correlate. So it's one of these I think it's mostly a good faith effort, but they start from different premises.
If you want to have fun, if you haven't had enough of this discussion, the bug tracker on the Chromium site is issue 162757, which was started in November 2012 and continues. They actually closed it 2 days ago because there were 148 comments in it, and they've reopened it as issue 471824. The debate rages on, but it's really fun to actually watch the Google engineers slowly change their tune and adopt point, and then everybody else is pissed. So you can't win. It's one of those, and it's a lot of fun. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. Lots more to talk about, including Meerkat. We haven't mentioned it in like 3 days. So
it's dead already. You don't need to.
Oh, it's dead. Thank God. What's the new thing? Our show today brought to you by FreshBooks. This is something that stuck around. I started using it 10 years ago. If you are in a business for yourself, if you're a freelancer and you send out invoices, biggest PITA ever. End of the month comes. The last things I want to do is fire up Excel or Word, get all my expenses together, create an invoice. But if you don't do it, here's what I learned as a freelancer: you don't get paid. So it was really suffering. Amber MacArthur told me about FreshBooks back when I was going up to Toronto every month, because I had to invoice Rogers not only with for my day rate, but also for all the travel and stuff. And I was literally waiting like 6 months at a time. I would do. It's not good. FreshBooks was the first Web 2.0 site I ever used. Now it's kind of silly even to say that. It's still great. It is a cloud-based accounting that will help you save time with your billing, get paid faster. In fact, on average, FreshBooks customers get paid 5 days faster. They also seem to double their revenue in the first 24 months. I'm not sure what that's all about. I guess if you're smart enough to use FreshBooks, or maybe because you save so much time not doing invoices that you can do more work, more of the important stuff, the money-making work. I'm not sure what it is. FreshBooks has award-winning mobile apps on Android and iOS, which makes it easy not only to keep track of time and hours, but you can actually snap pictures of receipts, get them right into the invoice. Works with multiple currencies. That was important for me because I was invoicing in Canadian dollars as well as U.S. dollars. You can bill in any currency. And most importantly, it's really easy for your clients to pay you. There's a pay button on the invoice. And they work with Stripe and PayPal, Fundbox, Zen Payroll, a lot of different services and apps. So it's really easy for your clients to pay you, and I think that's why you get paid faster. Should you have a slow pay, FreshBooks takes care of that too with automated payment reminders. It is just the greatest. And when it's time for taxes, I know we're thinking about that now, your accountant, whoever does your taxes, maybe you'll love it because the reports are so great. I want you to try FreshBooks. It's free, no obligation. Start your 30-day free trial at freshbooks.com/twig. And if they ask you, how'd you hear about us? Don't forget to tell them This Week in Google. freshbooks.com/twig. I am so glad these guys are still around after 10 years. They do great stuff. And they just saved my life. freshbooks.com/twig. Let's see. We did. Is this an April Fool's joke? Smart Box? Okay, we're not going to do it. See, I got bit. The Smart Box by Inbox. Is this something?
I think that's
the mailbox of tomorrow. Gosh darn it.
I got to say, it looks pretty neat,
now,
though.
here's a question, and I saw this a few days ago, and I thought, this can't be right. Globe Runner, which is a big SEO agency, claims they hired Matt Cutts to be their directors of search. Is that true?
It is not.
Thank God.
I emailed Matt about it. I said, is this true?
He should be a little miffed because it doesn't look like it's a joke.
What did he say?
It's such an inside joke to know that would be a joke.
Yeah, he said, the new career is just some search engine optimizers playing an April Fool's prank.
Yeah, but they did it early. They did it like 4 days early. I saw it. I thought, this cannot be, unless they offered Matt so much money that he decided to go to the other side. Matt Cutts, of course, good friend of the show. He's been a regular.
He's on next week.
So I'm glad to have him back. He is, part of this is, he's free-floating right now. For years, one of the first Google employees, he was in charge of fighting spam and search results, and he did Webmaster Tools, and he talked about good SEO versus bad SEO. But he's been on leave for a while, and we thought maybe, I don't know, maybe he's... So
you see, Matt's own joke is there next on the rundown.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
All right. He says he's going to go to work for a new project. It's at his blog, so I can trust this one. My next project, Auto SEO. Oh, SEO Ninja. How much would you pay never to have to worry about keyboard density, H1 headers, or meta descriptions again? How about free? That's right. Auto SEO is free for individual students. Again, you have to know this is an inside joke.
Yeah. Well, then go to it.
It's nicely designed.
Go to SEO Ninja. Did you go to the bottom there?
Yeah, at the bottom. Copyright April what? FAQ? Reduce your stress, get back your time. What?
No, I think the joke is it doesn't do anything.
Oh, yeah, because that's what Matt's always said. You don't need to do SEO. Just do good content. Everything else is snake oil. FAQ.
Request an invite.
Let's go request an invite. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Free for students, individuals, and self-hosted installs. That's hysterical. I love it. So Matt, come back. Well, we'll see him next week. We'll find out what he's up to. He's still doing his 30-day challenges. I know that. But now that Gina is only every month, we don't really do the change log per se, but a couple of things new in Google. Your photos and files together in Drive, all up to now, photos have been stored in a separate thing called Photos, but now they'll actually just be visible when you look at your Google Drive. I doubt they're going to, it's like there'll be an extra copy or anything. It's just you'll be able to see them.
Yeah, mine showed up. It's rolling out over the next few weeks. Mine showed up yesterday.
So if you go to Drive, let me see
Does that go the other way around as well? Did the photos you've uploaded to Drive previously end up in your Photos app on Android?
Yeah, I got it. Look. No, no. See, mine are coming soon.
These are Google Plus photos, and what's cool also is that it'll. So, for example,
there's no point in you showing me, but you could plug this in if you really wanted to.
Okay. So what do I do? Where do I go for this?
Just go to Drive, drive.google.com. It's on the other side.
You'll see a Google Photos.
If you have it, well, even if you don't have it, because I don't, you're going to have an entry under My Drive and Shared with Me, Google Photos. But when you click it, if you have it, you'll see photos.
No, I don't even have the entry.
Yeah, so you're really
Jason,
behind.
If you go to this, go to the screen, the Leo screen.
There you go. That's now Mike. Mike is seeing his photos.
So basically, what this is, these are a bunch of.
Gets it.
Well, he's the pro. He's the Google Plus
he's
pro.
The king of Google Plus.
Yeah.
Well, I also have terabytes of. I'm exaggerating, but tons of pictures on Google
my
Plus.
problem, of course, is guess what? I'm looking at my apps account.
You won't see it at all there.
You'll never get it
Google.
But you can see it on Google Apps.
But anyway, what's interesting to me is that it will put your Auto Awesome. So, Google Plus will create an Auto Awesome, and then the Auto Awesome show up in
Yeah, but this Drive. Come on. This is just a link. It's not. You're in Photos right now. It just appears to be in Drive.
Yeah.
Yep. New Google Photos.
Yeah.
Yay.
And do you have photos in yours?
Well, I have two.
Mine say, "Stay tuned. Your photos are coming soon."
Yeah, mine says that
Add
too.
your Google Photos to My Drive. Make it easier. Add folder. Yeah, so I guess I will add folder. Create folder. Okay.
So
I guess this face rollout. Yeah.
This reminds me that it was 1 year ago that the Auto Hofsums were being done.
Oh, that's
on
right.
Google. This is
the
April Fool's joke where they'd add or Hasselhoff.
Yes,
they'd have David Hasselhoff to your.
That was awesome. That was
awesome.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
And I think they're still in there, right? If you have a Hoft,
I do.
Picture,
I have lots of Hofsums.
That was well done.
I have quite a few Hofsums. In fact, I remember that because I was using Time Hop, and it showed me everything from last year. And
Time Hop.
Time Hop.
Call it.
I love Time Hop. In fact, Time Hop, now I have photos so long, I actually got a Time Hop from 7 years ago.
Wow. That's amazing.
So Time Hop's an app, Android and iOS, that will go through, you add all your accounts, it'll go through your tweets. I still haven't been able to export my tweets to add it, but you export your tweets and you can add them. But it also looks at Facebook and Google Plus in your photos. And then it says 1 year ago today, 2 years ago, 3 years. But this is the first time I've ever gone that far back, 7 years ago.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, I was, what was I doing 7 years ago? I think I was...
sitting in the same chair doing the same job.
I was a young man in search
of a dream.
I was on travel. I was traveling somewhere. It was kind of amazing. I thought, wow. Yeah, they were black and white photos. Daguerreotypes. Anyway, that's a nice feature. And then also, they've updated Gmail for Android. I've been using Inbox, so I don't really care. But if you still use the Gmail app on Android, you now have a unified inbox view. You get a conversation view for non-Gmail accounts. And they say search is smarter.
And you also have email from Yahoo and Outlook,
right?
All in the same in the same inbox.
Again, I don't use those. I don't want those. I mean, I have accounts, but I don't want my Yahoo or Outlook mail in my good mail.
Can you imagine what's in the
it's
the
spam.
cobwebs that are in there? Oh yeah,
it's all spam. Yeah, and notifications from Yahoo and Microsoft that something cool has happened.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a Google for Work account because we use it here at Twit, but I just stay away from it for all of the pain points that you're talking about, Jeff. They've got to solve
But it's
this.
too late. I'm committed. The thing is, I'm committed on both sides.
You can't go back.
No. I mean, no.
Well, your example has cautioned me.
Oh.
Yeah.
And again, every Googler has this problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they have an apps account for work, and then
Right.
they have their personal Gmail accounts, and
Google
so
needs to solve this. Yeah.
They do. It's not that hard, guys. It's really you're friggin' geniuses.
So Google is here. Give me the dongle.
Primary keys are
I
hard.
got my dongle. Google is going to take Ingress to the small screen, as we used to call TV. Although actually, really, your biggest screen in your house is your TV. Your small screen is your phone, your computer.
Yeah.
So I should reverse that now to the big screen. Ingress, which is kind of this wild program, which people who love it.
Yeah.
Chad Johnson plays it and lost like pounds, right? You play it, F and Dunn. Who plays it here? Who else plays it here?
Father Robert.
Father Robert plays it. Chris
Big
plays
into it.
Well, you guys don't have a
Brian,
life,
I believe.
Brian Burnett. Robert actually lost a lot of weight, didn't he? He walks all over Petaluma trying to find places to take over.
I tried it for a bit, but it's it was fairly opaque to try, and also where I live, everything is taken over because it's full of Google employees. So.
Right. That's the problem. And when I first used it, Petaluma was too small. There were only like 3 or 4 points.
Yeah.
The post office stuff.
Now it's about right?
Now it's busy, yeah. But at the time, and so I thought, oh, this is for people who live in New York or something.
What's brilliant about this coming to TV, and they're basically talking about doing a TV series, is that the TV series and the game will interact with each other. The TV series will have it'll dramatize, but there'll be clues that can be then used in the game. And
it's like your Captain America decoder ring.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're talking about all kinds of content, comic books and things like this, and they'll all be intertwined, and there'll be all this mythology behind it that'll boost the game and so on.
One more reason I'll feel left out.
Yeah.
Geek conversation.
This news was broken by The Information.
Yeah, Amir Afradi had the story, and he's very trustworthy, so I think I'm sure it's true.
Yeah.
But they haven't made a deal yet. They've just been talking about it.
Right.
Our show today brought to you by, let's talk about LegalZoom.com. If you are running a business and you don't already have your LLC or your DBA or your nonprofit papers, LegalZoom's a place to do it. If you haven't incorporated yet, get Heisey to LegalZoom.com. Now, LegalZoom's not a law firm, but they can connect you with an independent attorney, and they can help you get a lot of the legal paperwork done. It turns out you don't really need a lawyer for things like your LLC or your Chapter S or C or your 501c3. It's easy. People count on 5 things, and you can count on 5 things from LegalZoom. Reliability, and I'll grant you that. More than 1 million people have trusted LegalZoom to help start a business. We did 10 years ago. Number 2, experience. They've been doing this for more than a decade, so they've got it worked out. They've figured it all out. Lisa just did her last will and testament, and they send you this great kit, and it just really makes it easy. It's really nice. Help for support. They have the right people on hand to answer your questions. They're all based in the U.S. And actual legal advice. Since they're not a law firm, LegalZoom has built a network of independent attorneys available in most states. You can see their profiles and the reviews. Pick the attorney that's right for you.
One of the things that I tell people is that if they're thinking about starting a business and they've never started a business before, it's a great idea to go to LegalZoom, just look at what is there, and it helps you think about it. It helps you think, well, okay, I can do that. I can afford that's inexpensive. Okay, I could do that. I understand that. And it helps you start thinking about what it's going to be like to actually start a business.
I went, and I think this is a good thing to do, too. I went to Kevin Rose, somebody who's started many businesses. I said, Kevin, I'm about to start Twit. What do you recommend? He said, number 1, right now, get an LLC.
Yeah.
So that they can't take your house if you get sued or whatever. And it's easy. And he told me, go to LegalZoom. It's inexpensive. And I did that. And we're still using those papers today, 10 years later.
Yep.
Finally, LegalZoom is surprise-free, hassle-free and surprise-free. They provide complete transparency. They give you upfront pricing. You know what you're going to pay. They have customer reviews. There are not a lot of businesses that will post the customer reviews right on the site. Mm-hmm. That's confidence. And, of course, a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Make the smart choice for your business. LegalZoom.com. Don't forget to enter Twig at checkout. You'll save. LegalZoom.com, promo code TWIG. Take $10 off as a way of thanking you, and we thank them for their support of This Week in Google. Do not flash Street View. At least not in Australia.
You think the Aussies would be a little more open-minded about this?
I thought nudity was like big in Australia. Aren't people in Australia naked under their clothes? An Australian housewife who rose to internet fame by exposing her boobies to a Google Street View car has been interrogated by the police and now faces a court hearing. Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Come on. It's legal in New York. You could do that in New York. It's not even illegal.
Yeah.
It's illegal in San Francisco.
You know why it's illegal? We had to make it illegal. Because people were wandering around the Castro naked.
I thought it was still legal.
Is it still legal? All right.
In some places in San Francisco, it's required, actually.
You go down to the Castro, and just everybody's letting their freak flag fly. So this is Port Pirie in southern Australia. Maybe they're a little more. Maybe a little more conservative there.
Right, that's right. The South. Yes.
Yeah, it's the South. South, mate. She was extremely bemused when the police questioned her and took a DNA sample. What? Let's compare that with the picture. She said it was her bucket list to flash Google Street View. She said there was no child harmed in the making. My children don't have to go to therapy because of it. I didn't give any old man a heart attack that I'm aware of. I spoke to my 19-year-old son before. He thinks it's funny.
Oh, that is an embarrassing mom.
Hey, honey, I'm going to go out and, according to this story, flash my sizable breasts. That's what the story says. I'm not making this up. They were uncensored because normally they blew.
Daily Mail?
Huh?
Is this the Daily Mail?
It feels like it. Well, maybe it is.
Today, which is
this is even worse. RT.
ABC.net.
This could be made up. Oh, ABC's legit. The Australian broadcast. And there is the picture there, but RT has had the decency to block, although Google later blurred her. Aren't you supposed to blur people anyway?
Well, faces.
Faces or boobies.
So if she drew a smiley face underneath it.
Yeah. She has been flooded with friend requests on her Facebook page. Her next plan to skydive topless for her 40th birthday.
And the FAA is going to get her.
Unless she's in jail. Google's response, you saw this, their public policy blog to the Wall Street Journal's.
Yeah, I was going to say, finally, Google's getting a voice. Rachel Whetstone, who's in charge of public policy and stuff, finally has given it to Rupert the way they should be doing.
She titles the blog post, "Really, Rupert? Really?" And then it has a laughing baby gif. She does actually make some really good points. One of, the smoking gun, as the Wall Street Journal said, saying the reason that the FTC dropped the investigation of Google 2 years ago was because Google lobbied the White House so assiduously, claiming 230 visits from Google to the Obama White House. But then she explains, but 5 visits were a Google engineer on leave helping fix technical issues. 33 were people.
Obamacare, right? Well, so let's go into that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, right. And we know that at least 30 of those were our own Alex Lindsay from the Pixel Corps, who was going to the White House for Google Hangouts. Pixel Corps is contracted by Google to do those Hangouts, the one after the State of the Union and others. And of course, they show up as Google contractors. Several visits were advertising industry meetings attended by Microsoft, Yahoo, AOL, and others.
33 of them were people who work at Google now, but didn't when they went to the White House.
So the number is a little.
Yeah.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And today, another story up on the rundown is that a former Republican FTC commissioner said this is ridiculous. That the only test for antitrust is there consumer harm? And there was no consumer harm. And no, the lawyers didn't push for an antitrust case, and we said this unanimously because it was true, and I'm in the GOP, and it wasn't political pressure. Right. And this, I mean, I'm sorry. I respect the journalists of the Wall Street Journal, but damn it. I mean, that's why Rachel Whetstone at Google was right to go after Rupert.
Right.
Because this is his vendetta against Google, and he's using his paper as a bully pulpit. He's always done that. And somebody at the Journal ought to be revealing it or quitting or something, because the story just stinks. It just does.
Rachel Whetstone is Google's Senior Vice President for Communications and Policy and very adept with the animated GIF.
Yes, she is.
She has two of them.
This is kind of a Google thing right now because a week ago, Google sent a reporter an animated GIF here as well to the Daily Dot reporter. So they've got a little animated GIF thing going on right
maybe
now.
That's they must have it on the servers there, the intranet. Little.
Do they click
menu.
to Google Plus?
That's a good one. I haven't seen any of these. All right. Time Magazine says Google tricks us. Actually, I agree with this one. Google tricks us into thinking we're smarter than we are.
Research, look up facts.
Yeah. I know. I'm a lot smarter ever since Google. A study in the Journal of Experimental Psychology General published last Monday. Even when participants couldn't find answers on the internet, they still felt an increased self-assessment of how much knowledge they had when they tried to use Google. Matthew Fisher, the lead researcher at Yale, says it becomes easier to confuse your own knowledge with this external source. If people don't have a browser, they don't have Google, if they're truly on their own, they may be wildly inaccurate about how much they know and how dependent they are on the internet.
I love that final sentence. The study adds to existing research that suggests searching the internet for information creates an increase in, quote, cognitive self-esteem, unquote, though not necessarily an increase in intelligence.
I have high cognitive self-esteem.
Yes.
Very proud of that. Truthfully, when I first started doing the radio show and people would ask me tech questions, it was with Dvorak in the early 90s. There was no internet search.
Right.
I had to know this stuff off the top of my head. But I was a younger guy, and there was less to know then.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do the radio show without Google anymore.
If you go under numbers, there's a related one.
I'm not going to steal you.
Okay, Scott, I'm giving you a license.
Okay.
Telegraph says, and I think this is a really troubling idea here, that they're trying to argue this, but that men are better at Googling than women.
What?
I know, it's a WTF.
No.
Is that self-reported?
Yes. No, it's some ridiculous study of boys. I couldn't quite figure it out. I put it up right before the show started.
Yeah, studies are BS. We know that.
I do believe that older people are better at searching Google because we used Boolean searches. We remember when you had to do that.
You don't have to do it anymore.
Now people just go and say like, "Oh, selfie stick."
Oh.
You don't get the problem when the headline says scientific and anecdotal evidence suggests.
Yeah, lump those two together. That's brilliant.
So everybody, Apple, Google, and Facebook, all designing new corporate headquarters as they've cashed in on the internet. Facebook was smart. They've opened their new headquarters, and they invited a bunch of top Instagram photographers to document it, which means we have no idea what it actually looks like.
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, because they picked all the most interesting, colorful places.
Facebook's was the wackiest because they Frank Gehry deliberately designed it to look unfinished.
Oh.
And so there's paints dripping everywhere. The edges of the walls and things are rough. There's like cement floors. It looks like it's under construction still. Which is
Gehry did the Experience Music Project in Seattle.
He did the what is it, the
Opera
LA
House
or whatever in Spain.
In Barcelona or Madrid?
The Condé Nast Cafeteria.
Bilbao Museum.
Bilbao, yeah. I think he does the Mickey Mouse, whatever it's called.
The Disney
Theater in L.A., the Disney Auditorium. And all this stuff looks weird.
Yeah.
This one has a giant, it's all one room, right? It's 430,000 square feet. It is LEED certified.
So the weirdest thing is that picture you have on the screen there. That is a park that's on the roof.
It's on the roof.
So the roof is actually a park.
Right, and the garage is underneath.
Yeah.
Now, what happened to the headquarters they've been in, which has the kind of Disneyland courtyard?
Oh, that's old. No, it's still there. But this is an additional.
They're using it to house
is this the
all
real
the data
HQ now?
Yes.
It's probably where Zuck will be. 9 acres of grass on that roof, 400 trees, and a half-mile walking loop on the roof. But that offsets, that's a carbon offset.
And they're on the water there too, so there's a water view.
And they own significant acreage next door, so we haven't seen the end of it. I want better pictures. This is from Fast Company.
Yeah, there were some other pictures.
I want some other pictures.
Remember when we did the story about Google's proposed new headquarters? They're really trying to enclose the outside. So now employees, when they go walking, nobody's going to snoop on them. They can go up to the roof and get nature.
Yeah, well, it's like it's like the biosphere.
Yeah.
You're inside
Walk
this
around the neighborhood.
natural environment that's indoors.
Right, the one place on Earth where you actually don't need that at all. You're like,
I know, you're California.
Google's headquarters has like the perfect climate. It never gets too hot or too cold.
Yeah,
it's just down the road from Kevin. He knows.
Yeah,
every Kevin appearance is a climatological humble brag.
Well, I have my own little mini biosphere here. I've got a canopy that sits out over the garden. So.
And the Apple Spaceship Campus is actually the donut part of it is now being constructed, and there's a new 4K video that's been posted.
Another
on
drone
YouTube.
video.
But you can see that it's they've got the first sort of wedge of it sort of built up all the way to the ceiling with just the frame.
It's the Cyber Pentagon.
It's going to be something to see that.
Yeah, but I'm really excited about this one.
Thank you for quadcopters. I'm just saying, this is great. We get these incredible views.
Is this illegal?
No, it's public airspace, man. If you're doing it for non-commercial, if you're doing it for commercial, then the FAA has rules. But now you're flying right over it. That may not.
This is probably illegal. And the other thing is that there's a case, a story that's hit recently that the FAA contacted somebody and said that because he posted a drone video
on YouTube.
He also did it on his website.
Yeah.
But because ads are sold, it's therefore was a commercial use of a drone.
We'll see how that works out. The thing to remember is the FAA actually has no enforcement arms, so they're just spitballing.
That's a bit of a First Amendment issue, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there it is. You see, that's the chunk, and this.
There's a public safety issue with these drones, though, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's appropriate for the FAA to have an opinion on this.
Oh, yeah.
Because these things are flying through the air. Some of them are very heavy.
Profit versus not-for-profit is not the delineation.
That's not the delineation. Right. There's a public safety and a privacy issue.
Companies be more careful because they have liability.
Right. Yeah, I don't know why. I guess probably because of the First Amendment they can't.
Communists.
Commies. They're all commies in D.C.
I have here a list.
Elon Musk, has he announced what he's going to do? It's tomorrow?
His somebody said it had to be a watch, and his April Fool's joke is that it is a watch.
Yeah.
Oh. No, he's going to say, he tweeted on March 30th, 2 days ago, major new Tesla product line, not a car, will be unveiled at our Hawthorne Design Studio Thursday, 8 p.m., April 30th. So it's a month.
And the speculation is it's a home battery.
Yeah, because he's building a battery factory, right?
Right.
Yeah. But just the tweet, given that Musk has 1.86 million followers, increased the value of Tesla's stock by more than $1 billion.
It's good work if you can get it.
So now you can imagine the SEC and lawyers are rubbing hands, wondering whether just executives tweeting is going to be seen as
because they already
stock manipulation.
You remember them going after Reed Hastings,
right?
Because the Netflix founder and CEO tweeted a couple of years ago, and he was cleared because the regulators decided that as long as it's okay to use social media to disseminate material information, as long as it's the expectation of investors and you let them know you will be doing that. As long as investors have been alerted about which social media will be used to disseminate such information, the SEC says it's legal. So Elon Musk obviously paying attention to this. A battery, a watch. It's not a car.
Well, you see the watch on the next link I just put up.
Oh, let me look. April
Violating
Fools.
my rule.
I know.
So he basically announced
It's Big Ben on your wrist. I'm sorry. That's, as I was told many times when I was in London, that is the Elizabeth Tower on your wrist. The bell inside is Big Ben. Am I right, Kevin Marks?
That is correct. It's been renamed the Elizabeth Tower, yes.
All right.
It was just...
Did it used to be called Big Ben?
No, it didn't. The tower itself didn't have a name.
Ben is the bell.
It's just part of Parliament. But
Yeah.
they named it the Elizabeth Tower for the Golden Jubilee.
Right. It is, the key is the bell is the...
Badge.
So this is good. It's a new watch, the Model W. I'd wear that. Could be used as a weapon.
Yeah, you would.
I would. As long as there's little rodents running up and down inside. The Model W. This is in no way a competitive response to what some other company is doing. No longer will you need to rudely examine your phone to read text messages. Now you can politely stare at the tiny screen on your wrist without anyone noticing. All right. I think Tesla's confused. I don't really know what's going on here. Is it a watch? Is it Big Ben?
Back first, just a second, to Elon Musk and his tweet. Zeynep Tufekci, who's a wonderful sociologist on Twitter and an academic, who's from Turkey. When the far left terrorists, you'd have to call them, took a prosecutor hostage in Turkey 2 days ago.
Yeah, and of course
they were tweeting it, and then they went to Facebook to yell at Twitter for having killed their account. And this has to be a first in history that you have terrorist kidnappers complaining about a social network on a social network.
They're terrorist trolls.
Yeah.
I loved, speaking of trolls, this is definitely a trollish article. The Boy Genius report. Meerkat is dying and it's taking U.S. tech journalism with it. Taking us and others to task for being so excited about Meerkat.
Jay Rosen at NYU went after this piece on Twitter with the author for not naming any of the outlets that he was accusing of doing bad tech journalism, and then the author came back and said, "Well, I fear vendetta, like it's the mafia."
Well, okay, I will say we were one of them, so we talk a lot about it, but we don't. So what his point or her point is that if anybody would just take a look at the top charts on iTunes or read App Annie, you would know that Meerkat is not a success. That's not why we talk about a program. We don't. We're not saying. I mean, we were genuinely excited, and I still am about Meerkat, and we think it's good. Mike, you've used it a lot, but that has nothing to do with the download numbers. We don't vet our news stories based on download numbers. That's a misunderstanding of what the job of a journalist is. So
yeah, this is a ridiculous story. I think
it's link bait.
I think the bigger story. It's a delicious irony, I think, but a lot of the tech press slammed Google Glass as an invasion of privacy.
Right.
And many of the same journalists
carrying around their Meerkat.
Yeah, many of the same journalists who were slamming it now are the ones who are into, literally doing what nobody was doing on Google Glass, and with great abandon. So it turns out that the real crime of Google Glass is that the camera is not pointed at you, the journalist. It's pointed at. And so anyway, that's
carrying around a big mirror with you.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's that the camera's on your face. If it's in your hand, it's okay, but if it's on your face, it's not.
But I mean, literally, people are streaming for hours, recording strangers who don't have permission.
No, it's true. In fact, we if you walk around the studio a little bit, there's no Meerkat signs in places. Yep. That's individual employees who put up signs in their offices saying, "Don't you come in here with that Meerkat." And we've actually had to caution employees, please don't Meerkat in certain areas because there's.
You finally said no more at the office.
No, I didn't say that. People can still Meerkat here. I told one individual no more, but that's because he was. But
was doing it all the time. Yeah.
But I don't know. People can Meerkat here. I'm Meerkat. But we don't want them going by the accountant's screen and people seeing, private information and things like that. And that's it is the issue with a little bit with Meerkat is that, you're just walking around, but there's stuff, all over the place. Maybe, you don't have the right to show on your Meerkat. I think Meerkat's cool, though. Periscope, to me, is a little bit less interesting. It probably will win because it's Twitter's, right? And they can just hang in there forever. We had a great interview with Ben Rubin, who's the founder of Meerkat, one of the founders of Meerkat, on Triangulation, airing this week. And I highly recommend it because he's a smart guy. He was actually really thoughtful and intelligent. And we talked about what makes something go viral, why Meerkat was a hit and so forth. Although the point well taken from the Boy Genius report, Meerkat's download numbers have dropped dramatically. It peaked at 130 on the U.S. iPhone download chart, and is now has dropped. Oh no, he's talking. That's a secret. I'm sorry.
But again, if people already have it, the question is, how are they using it?
Right,
and that is a question.
And Ben told me 500,000 users, which I think is a significant number.
Yeah,
that's not a bad number.
No,
I think you'd have more if you do an Android version. He's working on it. Yeah. So is Periscope. I think it's an interesting category. This idea of instant live streaming. Yeah. He makes a point that he's in a very specific vertical, the ephemeral instant live streaming, the stuff that doesn't get saved. Periscope we thought was going to be saved, but it's only saved for a day.
Yeah.
So even that is ephemera.
Right.
And that makes it a little easier to do if you know nobody's going to see it.
Right.
Unless they watch live. Just looking at the rest of this. I think we could take a break and wrap this up with our picks. Y'all agree? Anything else you wanted to talk about?
Well, I was going to give you my little perspective on real-time streaming if you want. But
here's the king of real-time streaming, one of the authors of QuickTime.
Broadcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the background here is that 17 years ago, when I was at Apple, the first thing that I got assigned was building QuickTime Broadcasting, which was
awesome.
Which was building this stuff in at the OS level and into QuickTime itself. So the QuickTime streaming part had been built, but it was 2 weeks to WWDC, and they only had stored streaming. And Steve Jobs said, no, we need to demonstrate live streaming because that's the point. And so, as the new guy who hadn't been assigned yet, I got dropped on the, can you build a live streaming piece for us in 2 weeks? Which was, it was just gluing together bits of QuickTime was already there. We already had, this is the nice thing about QuickTime, we already had video capture and audio capture and the sequence grabber and that stuff. And they already had the stuff to do the hard bits of sequencing and playing it over the thing. So it was just like, call this piece of code, throw it to this other piece of code, do that in a loop, and so on. So it sounds like I did something really cool. Mostly I was going to have code together, which I suppose is a lot of programming these days. But it was, so that was my first experience at Apple was, here's this thing, build on this, and then 2 weeks later, Steve Jobs and Peter Holly were doing it on stage at Apple. And then
and incidentally, if it doesn't go well, he'll have your head.
Well, Peter was shielding me from that aspect of it, but yeah, that was kind of fun. But the point of it, the thing that we then went on to build what was called QuickTime TV, which was a live streaming thing for doing what we're doing now on Twig, but with broadcasts and things like that. So that was we're trying to run like 24/7 streams of the BBC and things like that. So that was fun in that I then had to write code that would maintain timing between audio and video across weeks, which is harder than it looks. But we got that, we got all that stuff working. But what I realized, having spent a couple of years on this, is that the actual use case of live broadcasting is not very useful. And in fact, this generalizes to TV as well. Because most of the time, the people aren't there ready to watch it. It's a historic artifact of television that was based on the fact that we couldn't buffer anything back in those days. That's all we could do, right. So television was... So all we could do was live broadcasting, radio too. There wasn't any way to record anything initially with radio, and TV recording came later and was very hard to do. Videotape only came into widespread use in the 70s. And so the model was built around this live broadcast model, but everyone watching the same thing at the same time. And then we were replicating that in the computer, and actually it's not that useful most of the time. One of the advantages of the computer is that it does store things and make it easy to store things and keep multiple versions. So the actual valuable thing is Netflix and YouTube, not so much the live broadcasting part. And we struggled for a while trying to find uses for this. And what I realized was that the valuable thing is that when you have a live broadcast and the people watching it can respond to you, so you have a chat room like we have here, then it's actually useful. Then you're able to have this back and forth, and it's useful for us as broadcasters because we're getting direct feedback on what we're saying and suggestions and things. And it's useful for you as an audience because you can have that back and forth with the people watching it. It isn't just a one-way stream. And without that piece, it doesn't make sense. So the reason these things are more interesting than what we built then is that they've built that piece into it. They were using Twitter to bootstrap that back and forth conversation. And they built that. The challenge is still that mostly live broadcasting is very dull. Because most of the time there isn't anything interesting happening. And if anything interesting does happen, you want it recorded so that you can replay it later. And you see this with TV. Whenever TV is like, and we're live from the political summit and we're standing outside waiting for the president to come out and say something, it's very, very dull. In fact, TV has moved away from doing that these days.
Well, but so, even more to the point, as we learned with the Brooklyn the fire in New York City, people who are using Meerkat and Periscope aren't doing even that. They're not explaining what's happening. And so sometimes people will go to a live event and to view on Meerkat. They don't know what's going on. Nobody knew what was going on with that, and there was no expert commentary. So it's even worse than TV in that sense.
Right.
That's not saying something if it's worse than television.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the challenge with all these things is it's also very exciting for you to be, hi, here I am live to the nation. We're doing it here now. And there is a seductive part of that. And that's been part of the problem with TV, people understanding the internet over the last 15 years has been, that is their mental model of it. And that's what they cared about. So a lot of the things that were built for TV over the internet were that here I am live to the nation worldview, which matters a lot to the person doing it, matters less to the people watching it. And it took a while for the people watching it to get the upper hand in terms of being able to watch what they wanted when they wanted rather than being stuck in their loop, because that was the TV's mentality as well. And to some extent, we're still stuck in that model with watching video over the net, in that we have this very elaborate setup that's designed to not buffer things. So if you're actually using a lot of these streaming services to watch video, you will get like quality dropouts and buffer glitches and stuff like that, because the way they were designed by the cable companies and the TV people and the phone companies, they all had this like real-time presumption, meant that they're not buffering enough. So there's not enough stored locally to get you over the glitches in the network. And that's something that's been gradually addressed, but mostly addressed by getting more capacity in the network than it has been by buffering things locally better. So it's one of these sort of ongoing problems with the design of things. But it was interesting to me to see this sort of sudden spike in this thing, because I literally went through this 15 years ago where
it did really feel like deja vu, not just from 15 years ago, but from 5 years ago and from 3 years ago.
Yeah. Well, Quick is QIK. Quick was the other startup that did this when Twitter was young, and did it very well and impressively on a bunch of very crappy phones compared to what we have now. Yep. And of course, Justin TV was the can we make a network out of this version of this before, and that didn't do that well. And the ongoing challenge is to do what you do here, Leo, which is have a space where there's something there to watch, but also you can have the back channel going back and forth and conversing with it and paying attention to that.
Well, that's a great insight.
That's something you do well.
That the thing the reason Meerkat and Periscope are so exciting to people is because it is exciting for the broadcaster.
Yes.
Not for the audience, but it's fun for the broadcaster because the person doing it sees hearts on Periscope, sees chat coming up on both, sees all these bubbles coming of people watching. And that's very, very seductive.
Yeah.
It is, by the way, the reason we do live. There's two reasons we do live. One is because performers and, or hosts or whatever you want to call people are energized by that. So you get better quality programming because if you're going to do it and you don't have two takes, the minute you have take two, the energy, it takes a professional because the energy just goes zero because it's not high stakes. So
and for me, take two always guarantees a take three.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So doing it live raises the stakes for the performers. So that's one of the reasons we do it. The other reason is actually, I think, a very, very valuable reason. You can't have really, truly interactive programming unless you're doing it live.
Yeah.
People can't interact with you an hour later. So I think we've sliced the baby well, which is that we know that our business started on demand. Our business did not start live. We added live for those two reasons. Yeah. But the main business is still the download business, and of course, because that's what viewers want. Viewers want to watch when they want to watch. But I'm of the opinion viewers like to watch something that is, look at the Tonight Show, like Jimmy Fallon and Letterman. Those are all live to tape because there's an energy that you get from that you just don't get otherwise. And you get audience interaction. You get a live. There's no reason. If you've ever seen live to tape, like the Sound of Music, they did the Sound of Music and Peter Pan without an audience, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's flat. If they had put an audience in there, it would have been great. So to me, that's why we do live. But I completely agree with you, Kevin, that live isn't what the audience is looking for. And our audience proves that. 95% of our audience is on download, not
well, but for the people who do want it, it's there and it's exciting. The people
we offer a little value add because they see behind the scenes. They get it's more of you get more of a relationship with the broadcaster if you're watching live and you can chat and so.
Right.
No, but the other interesting part of that is, Twitter in general as the back channel for live TV is also the piece that I wasn't sort of
you need a signaling mechanism.
No, but actually, bringing this to live TV. So the point is, I had stopped watching any live TV at all, but there are certain things that are more fun to watch with Twitter heckling.
Exactly. The Academy Awards with Twitter running in the background is awesome.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the one for me that made me realize this was the Royal Wedding, where I stayed up late at night to watch the Royal Wedding precisely because I follow enough British people on Twitter that I knew that I would have a hilarious side channel.
Right.
It's why I watch Eurovision.
Oh, God, yes. Eurovision is...
right, because
Eurovision
and I surprise all my European friends get surprised. What's an American doing here? Jeez. Yeah. But that's the fun of it. Exactly that.
Yeah.
Well, that's Eurovision is sort of this mass cultural bonding of like how ridiculous are we all? It's great.
Yes.
Right. And the Super Bowl live sporting events, after the fact, they're not as interesting. Yeah. So, and Meerkat, I think it's one of the reasons people point a lot to the news reporting issue of Meerkat. There is that immediacy that you get on a live streaming app. Are you periscoping?
I'm periscoping.
What do you like better, Periscope or Meerkat?
I like Periscope better.
See, I like Meerkat better.
It just feels more solid.
Periscope, that's why I don't like it.
Yeah.
Meerkat feels like you're really on the edge.
Right. Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. And also, it just feels more rough. It feels a little more rough and ready. Periscope feels very corporate. You see that in the when you first launch the app in the streams that are recommended. Meerkat recommends streams of people you follow, people you care about.
Yeah.
Periscope is Twitter's agenda.
Yeah.
So it recommends stuff that Twitter wants.
And on Meerkat, you get bigger audiences, much bigger, several times bigger.
Well,
yes.
but that's a timing.
But it takes time.
Right.
For some reason, Periscope, you get your audience and then it dwindles. With Meerkat, it grows and grows and grows and grows over time. So if you're going to do long sessions, Meerkat is better. If you're going to do short ones, Periscope is better.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah. Since my thing is, I want a buffer. I want to save it.
Yeah.
And because I feel like if I'm going to put the effort into doing a broadcast, I want. So really, your heritage really shows in how you feel about all this stuff. But so then I started looking at and what really bugs me, why can't Android do YouTube Live? So I played with some devices that do that, like the HTC Re. But shouldn't your phone be able to start a YouTube? What do they call it? Hangout on air.
Exactly.
Shouldn't I be able to do that from an Android?
You should have
device?
been able to do that 3 years ago.
Google missed the boat here. Meerkat and Periscope's.
Exactly.
But I'd be very interested if I could do a Hangout on Air here as I travel. Like I'm thinking about for our Europe trip, I would love to do a daily little thing.
Yeah.
Rick Steves does such a good job. His Facebook feed has all little short videos. They're just clearly shot like this.
Yeah.
And they're great. They're really slices of life in all sorts of places. If I could do that and it would be saved to YouTube, I'd be very interested.
Yeah. Come on, Google. You can do it.
Seems like an obvious thing. Did you read about, this is so funny. So Laszlo Bock, who is a Googler, just wrote a book. He's head of people operations, in other words, human resources at Google. He's got a new book, but there's Christopher Mims reviewed it in the Wall Street Journal. But today, Christopher did cull a little anecdote from it that I think is so funny. This goes back a few years. 2008, a Google employee sent Larry Page the following email. Oof. This is from the menu today. If there is no good answer or action from the company, I will quit in protest. The employee was referring to food being served in the cafeteria called the Free Tibet Goji chocolate cream pie. And
I remember that. That was a huge thing.
Were you at Google at the time? Yeah. Apparently, Google called it a kilo thread. There were so many responses. The fastest thread in Google's history to exceed 100 responses. The longest email chain debate in Google's history at the time. It bounced back and forth across the globe between Google's many international offices, some in China, where, of course, Free Tibet is not a good phrase. Some engineers were incensed that Google would imply that Tibet should be free, even in the name of a menu item. Others took the opposite stance. Yet others worried that this was an issue of free speech. If the chef can't name a pie as he pleases, what kind of talk would be regulated at Google next? The chef was suspended immediately, and Bock, as the head of human resources, says that he saw, among other things, to make the point, some suggested Westerners would be equally offended if some chef in London had offered free Wales pie or free Northern Ireland cookie. Others went so far as to suggest Texas polygamy steaks and war of northern aggression hotcakes.
I like that one.
I would eat those.
I would eat that.
I would eat
I
that.
eat those.
The thing with the Texas polygamy steaks is you get several of them.
Bock later reversed the chef's suspension, as far as we know. He's still making Free Tibet goji pie.
That you have after you have your freedom fries.
That cafe has since closed. But yeah.
Has it? Oh, all right. So you were there. You were there for that event.
I think they should reincarnate the Free Tibet goji.
I'm going to make some Free Tibet goji pie tonight.
You should.
Well, I mean,
Is there a recipe?
I know.
It should be a recipe. I think the thing. So that was there was a very sort of hippie vegan cafe that was on the main circle at Google Building 41, I think it was, which had that Free Tibet thing. And what they didn't take into account was how many Chinese engineers worked at Google,
right?
And this set off all their buttons for them, and it is one of those one of those things. Now, also it's also this sort of default assumption problem that Google has, which is that everyone is like us.
Like us, right?
And that is an issue that Google has and has bitten them on more than one occasion, because their mental model of the world is built around that, and they haven't been that good at having the empathy that's needed to think of people who aren't like them. And that's part of the difficulty of building a sort of a campus like that, like both they and Facebook are doing, as you were saying, is that you end up building this complete, separated from the world enclave that is very hard for people to move out of the mindset of.
The book is called Work Rules, Insights from Inside Google, and does not include, because I just searched, a recipe for Free Tibet goji chocolate cream pie. You missed a bet there, Laszlo.
Because I'm craving it now.
I want some. Freedom fries. It is. It's like freedom fries, isn't it? All right, we're going to take a break. And if you would, picks, tips, ideas, thoughts, and Jeff will give us a number of the week as we wrap this up. The back of the book, I call it, coming up next. Our show today brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Am I right? ZipRecruiter.com, yes. Love ZipRecruiter. What a great idea. In fact, we've used ZipRecruiter. If you are Laszlo Bock or somebody responsible for hiring, maybe you have a small business and you're the chief cook and bottle washer, you know that job boards have made this much easier. But which job site is the right one for the employee you're looking for? And it's kind of a pain if you go to more than one unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter lets you post to 50-plus job sites and social networks like Twitter and Facebook with one click of the mouse. And I love this because the worst thing, of course, about having an opening is the emails and the phone calls, right? Not with ZipRecruiter. All the applicants go into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface, so you can quickly screen them, rate them, and hire the right person fast without all those annoying phone calls. If you want to find the perfect hire, you got to post your job on all the top job sites. And with ZipRecruiter, you can. You can post to 50-plus sites, including the social networks, with a single click. Find candidates in any industry nationwide. You post once, and you watch your qualified candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. And since you don't mind when you get a lot of applicants because you don't have to handle those phone calls, you might as well try their premium traffic boost. That gives you up to 3 times the candidates in any application. That's so great. ZipRecruiter, no wonder it's been used by more than 250,000 businesses, including Twit. Try it free right now, ZipRecruiter.com, and you'll get 30% off your first traffic boost. Yeah, ZipRecruiter.com/twig. And by the way, if you use TWIG or This Week in Google when they ask you how you heard about it, I should be ever eternally grateful to you. ZipRecruiter.com/twig. Now, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for tips, tools, picks, and numbers. I'll let Kevin Marks, because he's kind of our guest today, I'll let him start things off.
So the tool that I wanted to mention this week is called HuffDuff Video.
HuffDuff.
Now, I'm putting into this is like a tool on top of a tool, really. But
HuffDuff in the ham world is high frequency direction finding.
Yes.
That may be the geekiest thing I've ever heard you say.
So HuffDuffer. HuffDuffer.com.
High direction.
Yeah. HuffDuffer was named after that.
Oh.
So HuffDuffer.
That was not the geekiest thing I've ever heard you say, Kevin.
High frequency direction finding. Yes.
So this is a site that Jeremy made a few years ago. And the point of this is it gives you a little bookmarklet. And when you find an MP3 on the web, you click the bookmarklet and it stashes it in a podcast feed. And then later you subscribe to that podcast feed. And then you get that when you're out walking. So that's been around for years. 2008 this is about. So that's a 7-year-old.
So it's kind of like Instapaper for MP3s.
Yes, except I think it predates Instapaper. But it was 2008 that Jeremy built this. So HuffDuff is great. Recommend that. Sign up for that. Subscribe to your own podcast. Subscribe to mine if you like. I throw things in here every now and then. HuffDuffer.com/Kevin Marks. But the tool that I was talking about this week is one that's been built that will take a video file and turn it into an MP3 and post it to HuffDuffer.
Oh, neato.
So the value for this is so, unlike Twig, which sends both versions so you can get both, if you see something that's in video and you think that's actually really a talk that I'd like to hear, and there's a little button you can click and it sends it to HuffDuffer. It mungs the video into audio and does that. So the great example this week for me was Neil Gaiman talking about Terry Pratchett. So the day that Terry Pratchett died, Neil Gaiman had a pre-existing speaking event in San Francisco, and so there's a video of that, which is Michael Chabon interviewing Neil Gaiman and talking about Terry Pratchett. But I also munged that into an audio file with HuffDuffer, so HuffDuff Video and HuffDuffer. So when I was walking the dogs the other night, I got to walk around and listen to Gaiman reminiscing about Pratchett, which is great. I recommend that.
A lot of times you don't need. Our show's a good example, but that would be also the audio is all you need.
Right.
Talking heads, you don't need to see the faces.
Right.
And I have listened to things on YouTube while walking the dog, but it's a bit silly because I've got video streaming to a screen I'm not watching.
Right.
I don't think YouTube is smart enough to just send me the audio, so it's a little bit wasteful. Whereas this is a useful way to do that transformation if you want it. So if you've got, and it's not just YouTube; it works on Vimeo and a bunch of others as well. It basically looks for the video file, pulls it out, and turns it into an audio file. So there's a certain use case for this that I think is powerful. But part of it is this idea of transforming and time shifting that I was talking about before with the live streaming stuff, making that on-demand experience more easy. And the value of podcasting is very much that you want to be able to do this, listen to this at another time in the future. So the combination of those two tools is great, but it sort of plugs into the infrastructure of podcasting that's already there.
And can people subscribe to Kevin Marks' HuffDuff feed?
Yeah. There's a feed. Should be a subscribe.
Yeah,
link on
there's
that
the
page.
RSS right there. Look at that.
Yeah.
You can even subscribe in iTunes.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the point. The idea is that you make this and then you subscribe to it yourself. And so you've
Right.
got this feed of things yourself.
But
you
others
can
could subscribe to your feed, right?
Yeah, so it's like a curated list of things that I'm bouncing from one place to another.
Neat. I don't know why I'm getting an iTunes quick tour. I really don't want that.
Yeah, well, this is the slight...
Thank you, Apple. There we go. Look at that. Here's your feed. Look at that.
A pet peeve of mine is people only doing iTunes links for podcasts. NPR is notorious for this, where they say, and here's the iTunes link for our podcast. And you're like, no, that is not helpful to me because
I don't use iTunes.
I don't use iTunes. There is another tool that will turn an iTunes link into a thing you can give to Android. I should find that one as well.
So you will like this. In fact, I should hire you as a consultant as we do our website design. I'll tell you what, once we launch the private beta, I'll invite you, Kevin. But we debate this considerably because we're going to have a subscribe button, obviously, on our shows.
Right.
Currently, we do a lot of, it's a very long drop down because, of course, we don't just do iTunes. We do everything. But what I've been saying, and I told the design team we're going to do this, is would you just please give me a text of the RSS feed and just put that text right next to every show so that somebody can copy it and paste it. Because I feel like at the very least we should tell people, here's the actual RSS feed. And if you have your own way of getting RSS,
yes,
you can use this.
Right. Well, I have, there's another site of mine, which is unmung.com, unmung.com. Did I show you that before?
I don't think so. This translates iTunes into...
This translates feeds into web pages. So if you've got a feed, it'll turn it into an IndieWeb marked up H feed, and if it's got podcasts in it, it'll give you little players in line.
We've just brought it to its knees, of course, because you never anticipated more than 1,000 people visiting.
Should have. Yeah, it's on App Engine, so it should have spun up. It'll take
a minute to spin it up. Okay.
Yeah.
unmung.com. It's a RSS to HTML.
So if you take the RSS feed,
Safari used to do that, by the way, and they took it out.
Yes. Yeah.
Such a nice feature.
So the point of this one is that it does it to the IndieWeb marked up H feed and H entry and all that stuff. So it works with the IndieWeb readers as well.
Neat.
And that was my iteration from doing it. But I've actually found it quite useful as I have a podcast and I want to see the permalink and play that episode, because many of those sites they're hard to find.
Right.
So it's a way of working that thing. So yeah, the challenge is subscribing because there isn't a coherent prefix for saying this is a podcast feed. So the Android apps try and claim this, but it doesn't always work, and you often need to copy and paste. And that is.
Yeah, I mean, the link will probably be hot and say podcast:// because if you've registered a podcatcher on your machine, some machines will handle that properly, etc. Or is it PCast?
But that's the problem. There isn't. Yeah.
Or is it Feedly? Or is it? So we try to do the right thing, which is make it as easy as possible for you to subscribe, because obviously that's what we want. But it's non-trivial, and the problem. And I have enough history and context, having done this for 10 years now, that everybody looks at me like, "What? You want to have an XML file link?"
Well, that is the problem. The problem. This is the problem with RSS in general, is that you click the link and you see a page full of gibberish and you back away again. Right. So that's the problem with direct RSS links in themselves. And so the thinking with Unmung was like, well, this is the same information presented in HTML, which is probably more useful.
Maybe I should cross-link to Unmung.
Well,
I won't do that. I promise.
Don't do that yet. Let me. If you're going to do that, I'm happy. No,
give me the code. Maybe we could figure out a way to do that. Actually, be kind of cool.
I would need to add some caching, because at the moment it fetches the thing every time, and it would make I could do that, but I'd have to add some caching so that if the same people.
I think what we decided is not to make it a link that you can click for that very reason. Yeah. But anybody who's smart enough to look at it and see the RSS.xml would say, "Oh, yeah, I can cut and paste that." I think that's what we decided to do.
But this is a structural problem with podcasts.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
Is the reason that NPR says go to iTunes and search for whatever is that A, you can't put links in audio, but B, even when they do it on the page, it's hard. We don't have a good link format for this.
Right.
And so That sounds like something for us to.
Yes, we need to solve that. Would IndieWeb get to work on that right away?
I just asked them to think about it. So, but you know, it's the challenge is there's a lot of infrastructure out there you have to change. That's the problem.
You see how long that drop down is?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And
That's
there
the only way
are
we
a
can
lot of
do it.
decisions. It's like a HD or less than HD from.
But
here
we
to
still
there.
want to. So the challenge is to give people choice without overwhelming them with choice. And I think we just assume our audience is intelligent and we leave it at that, and give you the choices and let you figure it out.
I mean to ask you, does in any of those formats, does serving it cost you, or is that where CashFly comes in? And
CashFly serves it. We pay for the website, but CashFly pays for the. We have a deal with CashFly. I mean, it's not free, but CashFly does the. So if I go to here's the Docker episode, today's Docker episode. Randall finally got the Docker guys on. That's great. And if you click subscribe to audio, we do iTunes, Feedly, My Yahoo. We probably take that off. Pocket Cast, Stitcher, Zune. What? Other podcast clients. That's the PCast. And then the RSS. And the news site will do this a little bit differently, obviously. But look at video. It's crazy. So this is the issue. And we've got to kind of simplify that. We're spending a lot of time thinking about exactly what to do there. Because we do want you to subscribe. Ultimately, that's, for us, the best thing, is if you subscribe to it. I think my thinking has changed a lot about how important the web is and so forth to this. I believe that, and this isn't necessarily a good thing, and I know as an indie web promoter you think it's probably terrible, but really apps are going to be the solution for a lot of our users. And if we can get them to put a Twit app or use their own podcast app on their mobile device, that's going to be the most likely way that
the challenge with the challenge with the Twit app, the Twit app would work because you have enough broadcast in the same way that an NPR app works. The challenge is
solve it for individuals.
Doesn't actually solve the distributed problem. The value of Half Duffer is that I can turn an arbitrary thing on the web into a thing that feeds into the app I'm already using to consume it. And the value of an open standard for this stuff is that you can have multiple publishers, multiple consumers, and that's what makes it work. The challenge is that the infrastructure for this was designed, 2003-ish.
Right.
And so the methods we did to build it were built on what was available then, and things that have happened since have been a bit kludgy. And at the point where Apple sort of stepped up to the plate and said, yes, we're going to support this in iTunes and later in iOS, that was extremely useful because it gave a place for people to do it. But the way they did it didn't move the state of the art forward in an enormously helpful way. The challenge of it is that Apple added a whole bunch of random stuff to the feed you have to add just for them that overrides what is in the feed that everyone else can read. So there's still some craftiness there, but the problem is that there is a very diverse ecosystem of things that read podcasts, and they don't all quite do the same thing. So it would be nice if we could add a things we talked about page that you could link to, and you could put that in the post of the thing. But the number of podcasts players that actually display that post as HTML and let you click on it is fairly small.
Podcasts are antiquated. We got to solve this.
Yes.
Please.
Yes. Somebody.
Help
let me ask you one more question, if I can, Leo, real quick there, for the sake of one of my students. A couple of my students have podcast businesses, which is cool. And
what do they consist of? What is the business?
What is the business?
No. I mean, there's more than one business there. I'm just interested to see what they're actually doing.
One is, I don't want to give away too much. One immersive audio of people's experiences.
Cool.
I know that sounds really vague, but I don't want to give away too much of a business. And the other one is and right now there's two big media companies fighting over her, which I love. Is a better guide to podcasts. I think that's a big opportunity there. So one of the questions was how do you deal with promotions
like Odeo?
Yeah, Odeo. There you go. That's it.
I know. Well,
that's
but now the time wasn't there. Maybe the time is now.
Yeah. I know.
Whatever happened to Evan Williams?
Yeah, I know. He just has flop after flop. It's, so Leo. In a stream in Facebook now with the autoplay and video, what we were talking about in class the other day was obviously somebody's not going to autoplay an hour and a half of this and then stop their Facebook stream.
Yeah, we're not real good on YouTube or Facebook.
So, but you started doing little snippets, right?
We have TwitBits on YouTube.
TwitBits. How is that
YouTube.com/twit. Well, it doesn't. I mean, it's promotional because
I know that, but is it helping to promote? Or are you?
I don't know. I don't have any metrics for that, but you know, I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works.
How do you get somebody to? How do you promote a little bit of video to get somebody to subscribe?
Promotion. You know what? Right? Here's the problem with promoting Twit. It's really an acquired taste. And it's only for some people. I don't really want to promote it to a mass audience because 90% of them will hate it.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I don't know how you market something. It's like mustard or something. It's like horseradish mustard. And I think you have to hope that the people.
It's like Marmite.
Yeah, Marmite. You're not going to run a big ad for Marmite or Vegemite because people would try it and go, that's the worst thing ever. And all you can do is create huge amounts of conversation about how bad Marmite is. So what you really want is to be under the radar and have people discover you who might be interested.
But that's the question is some better tools of discovery.
Well, but it ain't Facebook. I used to do live with Regis and Kelly. I've done that a dozen times in the last 15 years. And I realized finally, even though 4 million people watch it, none of them are interested in Twit.
Yeah.
so
yes.
It's just the wrong group. So, I mean, I'm not going to buy ads in computer world either. I don't know, really. I think the best thing to do is hope that people will stumble upon us.
Well, I promote Tech News Today in two ways. The first way is that we have a lot of brilliant tech journalists on the show every day.
Yeah, so you're cross-promoting
and
bringing their audience to you.
I mention them on social media, and then people who are interested in them might want to watch our show because we have them on the show. The other way is that I do regular blog posts on Google+. It's stories. Like this happened in the news. I throw some of the controversy, some of the conversation we had on the show, and then I link to that segment in YouTube, so that people can go directly to that segment. And my hope is that people will, after repeatedly going and saying, "Oh, that's interesting. Well, that's interesting. Why don't I just subscribe?"
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's the solution. Probably isn't. But I see it as a link to that you put in a blog post for people who are interested in these topics.
I mean, we do that. We do a lot of tweeting, and the thing that was the most successful ever for TNT was Stitcher featuring it. Whenever Stitcher features your show, our audience doubles.
Yeah.
So I have no idea how this stuff works. Sometime you and I will sit down, Jeff, but I have this counterintuitive idea that it's not a good idea to market to the wrong people.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with
that. But that's the challenge is with with podcasting. What you're saying is it's like saying radio. It's like.
I hate the word podcast.
Right.
I've hated it since day one. I gave the second keynote at Podcast Expos. I said, stop calling it a podcast. And everybody thought I was nuts.
Well, we used to call it audio blogging. So your podcast
That's worse.
But podcast was
that was an improvement anyway.
Yeah. No, but that's,
It's internet broadcasting, and it's the same. How is this any different from Meet the Press or whatever?
Well, I have this argument all the time with people who do video online. And I call it television. They get all mad. And I said, no, take over the word.
Right.
It's our word.
Yeah.
We are broadcasters, not them.
So do we call it radio? Do we just say this is radio?
Yes.
Well, but
yes.
Well,
why not?
Also TV.
It's way better than radio. And you should basically get in your car and your podcast should
That's true. It's a parody with radio as far as
customizable radio and customizable television.
Yeah.
Well, I amaze people all the time, Leo. I was at not being a broadcaster, I bang my mic.
I do it too. So it's okay. Everybody, yeah.
I was in Madrid a few weeks ago, as you know, and I talked to Prisa, the gigantic publisher of El País and owner of huge radio stations, and I do this all the time. I dine out on you all the time, Leo, and I tell them the story of Twit and Twig and what an amazing thing it is, and just the idea that we make TV and radio at the same time.
Yeah.
And every time I mention this,
that baffles them, huh?
Oh, well, they get it, but it's just
it's easy.
Why didn't I think of that?
Right.
So, I mean, my only thinking is make it available make it as easy as possible for somebody to watch it. Make it as available as many different formats, as many different ways, however anybody wants it. That's how we'll offer it, including live, including audio.
We're the Burger King of media.
Yeah, however you want it. Because our goal is eyeballs. We don't.
Here's what I want. Chat room. You have this amazing public out there who God knows why you watch us this whole time, but I love you for doing it. And if they would go to hit time codes of their, top 3 favorite moments in the show, funny moment, 1 minute here, minute 30 there, that you could just embed a YouTube video at that in and out. It would make it easier for us to get people who would be interested to sample things.
We have obviously the problem with podcasts, especially long form, is sharing. And YouTube does have a way to share directly to a spot, but nobody knows about it. It's obscure. It's hidden.
It's easier now, actually. When if you click share while you're playing it, it says share at this time now. So it has got easier.
You have a checkbox.
But the trouble is, you have to scroll back because it's you think that was really funny. I'd like to share this. Like, no, I've got
it's too much work. And we've thought long and hard about maybe making our player have a share button that would you could say share here.
Yep.
There's got to be a way. In fact, I think that's the solution, is that if somebody's watching it on some form of player, that they could press a button that tweets that minute, maybe minus 30 seconds. But it's fine. You know what? I'm not. We don't have to get big. We just have to get better.
So, serious suggestion here. I mean, and this is something that podcasts used to have chapter lists because they inherited that from QuickTime.
Too much work, and it's iTunes only.
And they've stopped making it play anymore, so it's been broken. But the idea is strong. The idea of a chapter list is actually what you want for these things, and it would make sense to construct chapter lists for these shows, and then you could. YouTube has chapter lists.
It's a terrible idea. I want somebody to listen to the whole show. I don't want them to jump to a part of it.
No, that is the challenge, because the challenge is then you have a chapter list.
I have 3 ads. I want them to hear every single damn one of them.
Well, exactly, Leo. So this is what I'm saying. But
I see.
Listen to as the audience, what I want is a chapter list, because if I go to the Indie Web guy and say we had a great discussion about this Indie Web thing. Hang on, I've got to go and try and guess where in the thing it is. I would never mind. So the question is, would sharing the snippets lead people to subscribe to the whole thing? And that's the trade-off you've got to do.
Right.
Or you've got to pre-roll ads on the chapters or something, which the problem is then you get the some of the TV shows do this. So like the Cooking Channel, they have a web player for the shows in the Cooking Channel, which I thought was great until I tried to pause one and come back. And when I tried playing for the middle, it played all the ads I would have seen up to that point before it would let me play the next one. Even though
I'm not doing that either.
Even though I'd already seen them.
I didn't want to hurt people.
Them with the bloody same.
Yeah, I don't. So, that just irritates. I don't want to make the pigs sing.
So, but the value here. Oops, my flag is gone. There we go. The value of the chapter markup is potentially that people could do that individually. So I used to do this for Apple keynotes. When QuickTime supported chapter list, I would watch the 2-hour-long Apple keynote and put my own chapters in to say, this bit was interesting, just a bunch of waffle here, blah, 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 which meant that people could skip through it and see the pieces they wanted. I'm not sure anybody else particularly cared. I don't know how much usage they got. But there is value to that, and it maps to the thing you were saying about the chat room.
Yeah.
The other thing that you could do is, as the chat room does have timestamps in it, I think at the back end, if it's IRC, they are second timestamps or fraction of second timestamps. You could tie that to the recording and give people in the chat room a command to say, I like that bit, so that it would then know where
We actually have some egg drops. So another concept that I pioneered but never implemented. I'm the Tesla of podcasting. Is something I called the river. We do audio and video streams. I wanted to do a textual stream.
Yes.
That would include hosts would have access to it. It would include links. It would include comments curated from the chat room. And we actually have a number of scripts that were written years ago for chat mods to go that one. And it would be very easy for them to extend that to that time code. Unfortunately, there is latency, so the chat room is off by some number of seconds, as much as 30 or 40. There's all sorts of problems. You know what? I've decided, having thought about this nonstop for 10 years, screw it. If people like it, they'll tell their friends, and they'll tell people it's appropriate. And we don't need to grow hugely. We're doing just fine. I'm happy with this situation.
You're right.
So.
Right. And it's the loyalty that you, again, the most amazing moments I have, it happened before last week's show, when somebody stops me in the street of New York or Munich or Sydney and says, "Are you Jeff Jarvis? Twig, we love Leo." That's what makes this a special company.
That's all I need. And then if all the effort I put into is not into marketing, but to making it a better experience for end users. That's what we're trying to do with the website. That's what we're trying to. We're just trying to make it a better user experience. And if I do that, then that's enough. It's good enough.
Yeah, and that's part of my like grumpy old man act from QuickTime is that we have lost a lot of this stuff. So when I mentioned QuickTime earlier,
QuickTime you had more than that. You could click on regions. QuickTime was amazing, and Apple slowly stripped all the best stuff out of it. Remember that? You could, I remember Alex Lindsay getting excited that brands could make videos, and you could click on the tent if you said, "That's a neat tent," and it would then go to a web page. Or there was some neat stuff in there.
Yeah, but the key thing that was neat about it was that it had the concept of edit points built into it. So somebody said, "Oh, QuickTime was the worst media player."
Not at all. It was awesome.
Well, there were places where it didn't play well. It had some grief on Windows for a while, but that did get better over time. But the thing was that what it did have was a good understanding of combining and editing media together to sample accuracy. So you could create a QuickTime movie that pointed into multiple different files and then flatten it out into one that you could share with other people, or you could share it with the pointers intact.
Right.
And it also supported more than just audio and video. It would support text tracks came in fairly early on. So I could make these, and chapter tracks were a special case of text track. So you could have a text track that was running along underneath the video that was, was just, it could be subtitles, could be
could be links, could be
a chat room track.
A gloss.
That appeared.
Yeah.
And that was all there. And the loss was, firstly, the loss was moving to streaming because streaming was seen as the big thing. But the second piece was that all the subsequent media players had this, I'm going to play it from beginning to end in one go model and not the idea of editing.
Right.
So VLC is a wonderful media player, but it's a terrible editor.
Right.
And the editing process, and the audio editing things are coming this way, the editing process now does involve rewriting files all the time. It no longer has this ability to point into different bits and pull it together. And we get away with that because we have so much more storage. But we've lost that dynamic editability piece that was there, and that for the digital, for my digital media past, that's the saddest thing. In that there was a lot of power there.
Yes.
Now Apple screwed this up in lots of ways. One of which was like trying to enforce patents on the file format, which was like complete toxic,
completely
idiocy.
Wrong idea. Yeah.
And not being quick enough to open source bits of it, which meant that other people could have adopted it. But actively sabotaging use of the file format was possibly the stupidest thing they did.
Yeah.
But what it means is that the actual audio video file formats we have now do not have this concept of editing, and so they doing this stuff is now quite hard. And we had a digital toolkit that made this very, very viable and easy from whenever they first shipped QuickTime, early 90s through to mid 2000s.
Well, and that's Kevin Mark's pick for the week. Now we go on. If you can remember it.
There's 3 chapters just in that pick.
Huffer Duffer. Ladies and gentlemen, our Huff Duff video. It's at huffduffer.com. And now it's time for our number of the week from Mr. Jeff Jarvis.
So I just put a link into the far right column on the rundown. Do me a favor, go to that. So, and Graham, so a tweet I just ran by Mohammed Al-Sakaf looked at mentions of computer phobia in books over the last years, right?
Yeah, I like that.
That was first step. Is it starts in
starts in
78?
Mid-70s.
And peaks at about, 82?
86.
86.
Yep.
So now do me a favor, add comma, technophobia.
Computer phobia, techno.
So computer phobia comes down.
Yeah, but guess what? Search lots of books. But look at technophobia. So the blue line is computer phobia. The red line, which as soon as technophobia computer phobia starts to go down, starts to skyrocket. And
so
technophobia.
We were afraid of computers, and then computers became everywhere. We weren't afraid of computers anymore, but we still needed to be afraid. So now we're just afraid of technology.
Yeah.
So
I
Jeff,
wonder if you put vampires in, what happens?
I told you this by email, but I'm not sure if you saw the email. I actually bought technopanic.com because I thought somebody would do that. And so if you want it, it's yours.
I might well be writing a book.
Oh,
okay.
You bought technopanic.com.
Yeah. I was stunned that it was available, so I grabbed it.
Wow.
How long ago did you get it, Mike?
Oh, 6 months ago, something like that.
Wow, no, that's beautiful. I didn't see the email. That's great.
I'm going to tweet this. So the blue line in the bottom is computer phobia. The red line is technophobia. Zombies is the orange line. And vampires is the top line. All right?
Okay.
I'm just pointing out here, as afraid of technology as people are, it's still, zombies and mostly vampires. Should I put Justin Bieber in here?
Bieber phobia.
Yeah.
Is there a Bieber phobia? Probably.
Yeah, I suffer from it.
No, look, Bieber's flatline. Nobody cares about Bieber. Jeff, Mike, do you have a pick?
I do. I have 4 things that I have some oldish news, new news, and really new news, all streaming related. The first is that some time ago, somebody came out with a site called MeerkatStreams.com, which shows all Meerkat streams in one place.
This is the so-called God mode.
Yes.
In fact, there was a hack. If you held your finger on the meerkat head for 5 seconds exactly, the meerkat would look the other way and you'd get God mode, but they turned that off. I was so mad.
Too bad.
Yeah.
Too bad.
But now you can do it on the web.
So here's a really cool.
Wow, look at this.
Now here's what you do when you actually open the stream. It's a Chrome plugin called Meerkat Plus. And what it does is it puts the comments, including the ability for you to comment, on the web version of Meerkat.
What?
So,
what?
Exactly. So here we are. This is the Meerkat we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And this is the Meerkat site. So it superimposes it on the actual official Meerkat site. And
what?
And then you just comment and you see all the comments.
Does Meerkat have an API, or they're just hacking into it?
I don't know. Okay, so there's that.
I'm wondering how Mr. Rubin feels about this.
The same people who made Meerkat streams created a Periscope version, which came out today, I believe.
Oh, all right.
It's called onperiscope.com is the website.
Okay.
It's just called Periscope Streams. And again, you just can refresh it. And this is really fascinating because it shows you a different
It's much more global, isn't it?
Yeah, you're seeing people driving around Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. It's like really very, very
Which
cool.
has the most nudity?
I don't know.
None of them, unfortunately. I thought these would rapidly become porn havens.
Yeah, this was what was the anonymous video chat with the
Chat
penises?
roulette.
Chat roulette.
Chat
There
roulette.
is Meerkat roulette.
The thing is though that this have small audiences, so the porn people probably
So you're meerkatting right now, and we can watch it.
Yeah.
And you could use this extension.
Yes.
To chat into this meerkat.
You just right there on the web, which I think is what everybody wants to do. Okay, so here's the new news.
The new
that I think
news.
broke after we started the show.
Okay.
No, it didn't. A little before. But Facebook has a new app called Riff, R-I-F-F. And basically it's a collaborative video creation tool where basically you create a video and then your friends take your video and they add their video and then another friend adds another video. And so it's a way to have this sort of serial additions to a video, and it tells you what to do. So you tell your friends, okay, make a funny face, do this, do that, the other thing. And so you it's a fun way to create not live streaming, but a video that goes, yeah, exactly.
But you do have to give it a hashtag
yes,
of some kind, and then your friends can view it and choose to add their own clips on that topic, and that's how Facebook figures out that you're riffing. Oh, you already have a riff? This is your riff?
Yeah, but then scroll down. That's the desktop of it.
This is the app?
Yeah.
Facebook Riff. So this is, what are you doing right now? So this is like Meerkat in a way too, right? Because it's instant, and then is this somebody you know?
I haven't seen it.
American in Paris backstage. Oh, this is somebody else's riff. Balancing act.
So if you watch that, it'll go through.
So somebody else. Well, let me see. Has anybody riffed on you? What is your hashtag on this?
It's via my Facebook account.
Oh, so you have to be a Facebook friend with F and Dunn. So maybe somebody's 2,000 people have seen it. Surely somebody. There's a even better juggling job. So this is actually the one they have on the page actually. Okay, so this is actually exactly the same as on the website. They're just kind of demonstrating what you would do. Oh, I'm going to get riffing.
Yeah.
That's great.
So those are I guess those would be picks of the week, but I have some breaking news, which is that Nixon's mansion in San Clemente is now for sale for $75 million.
$75 million?
He bought it for $1.4 million.
That's even more than Jay-Z paid for Tidal.
I know. You should have bought this house.
Hey, back to Riff for one more second.
Yeah.
I know we're long. Did they get rid of the horizontal versus vertical problem by making the videos square?
Square. That solves it.
That's
what they should have done in Meerkat. They made it square because they learned that from Instagram. Does it have a Hefe filter?
Riff, right?
Yes, a Hefe filter. All right, I'm installing Riff right now on my phone. It's free from Facebook.
And inevitably, the people who use Riff will be called RAF, right? The Riff Raff.
The Riff Raff. Do you use Riff? Now you're the Raff. So I told you, Jeff Jarvis, that I'm slowly coming around on Chromebook. The new Pixel really sold me. I know it's $9.99.
Hypnotized.
I know it's $9.99, but you know, one of the things that I realize is part of the reason people have a bad experience with Chromebooks is because they're crappy.
Yeah,
they're netbooks.
exactly.
But when you get and I understand now why Google did the Pixel 3 years later, because if you have an experience on good hardware, it actually is amazing.
Yeah.
So the the new Pixel has an amazing screen. It's touch. It's got everything's great. Great keyboard. The experience is phenomenal, great battery life. But then I'm starting to use it more and more because I like using it. It's a little heavy and clunky. I mean, industrial design is a little, square.
Yeah.
It's not elegant, but it's Google. It's an engineer's notebook. But then you start adding extensions. But there's two things I do, and I've even said this to you, that I can't do on a Chromebook that are part of something I like to do. They're both hobbies. One is photography. So Adobe has already announced they're going to do a new version of Photoshop, a streaming version for Chrome OS. If you're a subscriber to the Creative Cloud, in fact, they're already beta-ing this. The work is done on their servers. It's kind of like on Live. It's like the streaming gaming. The work is done on their computers, but displayed on yours. It's not exactly a VPN. Or VNC. It's something a little different. I haven't tried it, so I don't know. But then the other one is I like to write software, just for fun. I don't write anything good, just for fun. And I tried a couple of things. I tried Code Anywhere as one, and then I found this one. Somebody tweeted at me. Coding.com, Koding.com. Kevin, are you familiar with this?
I haven't seen this one. No.
You would like it. So it's a new startup. It's out of San Francisco. Let me make it full screen. And the thing is, they have a free tier. So it spins up instances on Amazon that will host a variety of things. Basically, it's a Ubuntu instance with a very nice IDE on top of it, which is kind of amazing, that runs automatically. And you can do coding in a variety of languages. It's web-focused because, in fact, you even get a website as part of it. It has full SSH and terminal commands. It's very Chromebook-friendly. I'm going to log into it in just a second.
So it's just a browser window.
It works great on a Chromebook. You could do Go, Python, Node, Ruby, Angular, PHP. You could play with Docker, WordPress. You could set up a Django, Ruby on Rails, Laravel instance. You can create apps. You could write iPhone apps or iOS apps.
So if you're Gina looking at this, and Gina,
she could totally use this because she's doing web programming.
What would she miss?
I don't know. Local storage, I guess. You can't compile an exe. So here's the interesting thing. For free, you can get an instance. So it's 1 core, gig of RAM, 3 gigs of space. By the way, that's plenty. In fact, I created this. They're smart. The one thing it does is the VM turns itself off if not used after an hour. So it's not persistent enough to use for a website. So, but for $10 a month, if you buy, and this is what I ended up buying as a hobbyist, so that the VM stays spun up. So, in fact, I put GiggleOhm on there. So remember we were talking, and I didn't want to do GiggleOhm before this because GiggleOhm went offline. So we made a little somebody sent me some CSS. It's a very simple site. But this is running on Coding. I'm not sure everybody should go there. But let me log in to my Coding account and show you what it looks like. Because I have to say, for free, this is truly amazing. Let me see. Don't look at this. Don't look while I log in. Actually, it doesn't really matter. You can spin down the VM. You can spin it up. You can do all sorts of things with it. It's got LastPass, don't say it. It's got a bash terminal. And you can see I've got a web root. So I put in the web root. That's there's the GigaOhm stuff. And I can do see the index. I can even, this IDE is, of course, completely functional. I even have it set up so that I can, let's go to my terminal. I can even run Emacs. I put on Emacs on there. So you really, if you want a Linux box that you can code on, this is amazing. I've set it up for Go, but you could use Python. You have workspaces, so this is my Go code workspace. So it just jumps right there, it roots it at the top, and now I can just work in my Go code.
So you're not installing a darn thing in life.
It's all installing on this Amazon instance, on this EC2 instance. KODING.com. The thing is, it's free. I ended up paying $100. They get you because I ended up saying, "Oh, I like that. I want to do more of this." So you end up, I think they've done an amazing job.
Can you store your stuff on GitHub?
Yeah, it supports GitHub.
Log in with GitHub. Yeah.
Yep. Supports GitHub. Supports SSH. So you see, I have some authorized keys in SSH, which allows me to go from any terminal and SSH into this. I'm really impressed. So now this is the other objection was I want to be able to code, and now I can.
I would say the one reason left that you wouldn't get a Chromebook is video editing.
And there are video editing things, but I do not video edit. So I'm going to leave that to the professionals.
Well, my journalism students, I can't have this become the computer for journalism.
But boy, if you're a regular student like a K through 12, you'd be crazy if you're at a school doing a one-to-one program to do anything but a Chromebook. You'd be crazy at this point.
Well, I can't wait to get the new Asus Chromebook. Because on some trips, just take along this thing that's both a tablet and a Chromebook at the same time. Lighter. Geez.
It's pretty impressive. So, you're winning me over, Jeff. Inch by inch. It gets better and better and better, and it's really...
Follow the light, children.
Yeah. At this point, I would rather use the Pixel than use my Mac, which is crazy.
Yeah, well, just when I had to go into, find things on the Mac that I'm using right now.
Yeah.
And then the Mac is so much better.
Well, but the beauty of this is I am on my Mac, and coding and everything that I do on my Pixel is here.
Okay.
So it's not like, it's everywhere I use a computer.
The thing that I think is the least appreciated fact about Chromebooks is the mental state that they put you in. They give you peace of mind.
Yes. Right.
Because it's always there. It's always safe. Yeah. You're not going to be, you don't have malware running. It's just relaxing to have one and to use it as your main device.
Yeah. So I'm working on a chat bot for a chat room.
What's it going to do?
Jeopardy. Do you know about, did I tell you about jservice.io? You must know about this, Kevin. Somebody has written, this is hysterical, a full API to every Jeopardy question ever. There's 155,000 on here. They don't say Jeopardy anywhere, except that looks suspiciously like somebody we know. And you can call this through the API. So I want to have if you're on Slack, you could put it on Slack. It's TrebekBot. And all you have to do is say, Jeopardy me. And he'll ask you a question. They keep track of your dollars and... You get double Jeopardy.
That's cool.
Anyway, that's just you always need a little something, a little project on the side. I always have something on the side. Kevin Marks, great to have you. What do you want to plug? Anything going on in your life? Or are you just enjoying the weather?
I think it's Kevin's orange stand.
I should do that. There's always money in the orange stand. IndieWeb is a thing worth mentioning. IndieWebCamp.com. Which is the website. There's a chat room attached to that. And we have every other week events in several cities in the US. And we have the weekend-long camps at various intervals. And it's basically a group of people who get together, trying to build their own websites and work out how to plug them into the rest of the web so that we're not ignoring the large social networks, just making sure that we're not dependent on them.
Yep. No, I just feel like you're doing God's work here. It's a small group, but it's good.
It's a small group, but I had that thick conversation earlier about standardization, and it's one of these we decided to go off and do our own thing type groups, and we're starting to get somewhere with it, which is good.
IndieWebCamp.com. Find out more. Mike Elgin, you catch him every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 1700 UTC for Tech News Today. Great show. You must watch.
Yes.
All the best tech journalists.
Yes. And you must subscribe. Just go to twit.tv/TNT. And, you'll be the smartest kid in the class when it comes to tech every day. So.
And, of course, Jeff Jarvis. You got to read his latest. If you're in the news biz, please do. It's called Geeks Bearing Gifts. You can also catch him at Buzz Machine.
For free on Medium.
Oh, you're doing it as chapter by chapter for free? Or is
By
that,
chapter free on Medium.
Awesome. BuzzMachine.com is his home on the web. We do Twig This Week in Google every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2000 UTC, live.twit.tv. As I said, live is fun, but you don't have to watch live. You can always watch after the fact. Just to download copies from our site, twit.tv/twig, or subscribe in your favorite podcatcher. Twit's been the good news is Twit's been around long enough now that every podcast appliance, if you search for Twit, you'll find all of our shows, including Twig. Subscribe to the ones that interest you the most. There you go. That's my marketing right there. I'm done. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Twig. Bye-bye.